This hotel is so much stranger than anybody ever tells you. It's called Circus. This hotel is so much stranger than anybody ever tells you. It's called Circus Circus. It's right there on the edge of the Las Vegas Strip. I had no choice but to stay there, and I had no idea about its dark history. I was in a desperate situation and I just needed somewhere to sleep. It looks safe on the outside. If anything, it looks inviting. But I made a massive mistake, and it led to the scariest, most unexplainable night of my life. Let's cut right to the chase. I met up with my friend Brock the day before this story. And really unfortunately, Brock got us into some serious trouble at a casino the night before. To sum it up, we got taken into a room, basically interrogated, and kicked out of the casino through the downstairs exit, which basically meant the tunnel system, and we had to find our way out. It was an absolutely horrible experience, but we got out eventually. And if you want to hear that entire story, it's the previous video on the channel. But after something like that happens, you're kind of left scrambling because you don't really know where to go, where you're allowed to go and where you're not allowed to go. But my biggest issue is that my belongings were still at the hotel that I was previously staying at. So picture this, Brock and I are walking from the outskirts of the strip back into the most populated area near the very popular casinos and hotels. And finally, we get up to the hotel that I was staying at. And my plans were to just go upstairs, say goodbye to Brock, sleep that night, and catch my flight the next morning. I didn't want to have any more fun in Vegas. I wanted to stay out of trouble and just get out of there. But we're walking up to my hotel, and we get stopped at the front door. Not by security or police or anything like that, but by a bellboy. And I see that he's trying to make eye contact with me, and he's walking towards me, and then I look
Oh,
over
nice.
my
I'm
pants,
finding lots of
and he has
diamonds
my
today.
carry-on bag and like my duffel bag, all of my belongings with him. And I'm looking this guy up and down like, first off, why were you in my room? But then I kind of understand why he was in my room, because I'm getting booted out of this hotel. And he comes up to me and he reiterates just that, looks at me and Brock and goes, yeah, I'm sorry, gentlemen, you're not going to be allowed on premises. We cleared out your rooms, we made sure all your belongings were in here and safe. You're going to be refunded for tonight, but you're no longer allowed in this hotel. And I shoot a look at Brock like, what did you do, dude? Why did you get me involved in this? Now, where am I supposed to stay? My flight is for tomorrow. Luckily, I was refunded for the hotel, but I have to stay here tonight because my flight is non-refundable. But this bellboy is adding insult to injury, and he had this weird tone to him. It was like this passive-aggressive, like scolding. He was
I'm actually
pretending to be
finding a
very
good amount
friendly
of
with me.
diamonds
He
now.
has a smile on his face because he has to do customer service. But the
Nice.
words that
Sounds
he's
like that
saying,
new
they don't
direction is
match with
finally
what he's
paying
saying.
off.
He's basically
Diamonds
telling us,
finally showing up.
we are not allowed here,
And
not
yeah,
only are we
I
not allowed
think
on
there's just
this
an idle
premises,
timeout
but
on
they've
call if
contacted
things go
all of the
quiet too
surrounding
long.
hotels
Nothing
and
you're
not
doing
let us
wrong,
book there
just
either.
how the
That's why
voice
it's telling me
session
we're barred
handles
from the
silence.
strip because of what Brock did. And eventually the nice guy act just gets a little bit old, and I reach out for my bag. Like, just give me my stuff, I get it, we'll figure it out. And this bellboy slides me my carry-on, but then when he reaches out to hand me my duffel bag, he drops it right before I grab it. And the initial thought in my head is like, oh, you little twerp. You did the old reach over and drop on purpose. So I think he has something
So,
personal against me, but I have no choice but to leave
one of
there
my
and pick up my
friends
duffel bag.
does
He takes that opportunity to
like a
act ignorantly
duplication
and
glitch
whisper in my ear
build
in a
thing
completely
for
different tone,
to
almost
multiply his
concerned.
like
He
diamonds and
whispers,
obsidian and
Circus
stuff.
Circus will take you. I'm so sorry they're watching us. And he stands
Oh,
back up and
interesting.
puts on that
Duplication
typical
glitches do
passive
exist in
aggressive
Bedrock,
customer service
usually
smile again.
exploiting
But I heard what
specific
he said,
block or
and
item
behind the scenes
interactions, though
version, I
they
see his
tend to get
eyes, and they're
patched out
really
over updates
intense,
once
almost like trying to
discovered.
confirm to
Are you
me
thinking
if I
about
hear the
trying
right
one
portion.
yourself,
So I give him
or
like
just
a
something your
really
friend does
slight
on their
nod
own
that
world?
no camera system would be able to pick up. And I turn around and I start to walk away. And Brock feels the change in my energy.
Yeah, I was thinking
And I
about
say to him, and I
duplicating
look at Brock and I'm like, they're
like
still watching
stacks of
us. They told
diamonds.
us that we could stay at Circus Circus. And I don't even really know what that is.
I'd
I
actually
just
steer
feel
away
like
from that
he was
one.
putting on a show.
Duplication
But
glitches
everyone's
usually get
watching
you
us,
flagged or
and he did his
banned
best to get
if
us
you're
to
playing
forget.
on a
So I
server
asked
with
Brock, where is Circus
anti-cheat.
Circus? And he's
And
like,
even in
it's a
single
couple miles
player,
away. I
it
mean, you
kind
could
of takes
walk
the
there.
challenge
So we
out
start
of a
walking. And if
survival
you've never
world
been to
you've
Vegas, when
clearly
you're
put so
walking
much
in the
care into
casinos and the
building
air conditioning room
legitimately.
from hotel to
Honestly,
hotel, you could
the
walk long
grinding and
distances. But if
finding
you're
stuff
going
yourself
outside
seems like
of
half the fun
hotel
for
to
you
hotel, a
anyway,
2-mile
based on
walk could
tonight.
feel like an absolute lifetime. And the difference from inside to outside there is so stark. Inside is filled with luxuries. Outside is filled with like dread and despair. I don't know if they were locals, I don't know if they were homeless, but nobody outside is having a good time. And that walk felt like it took like 40 minutes in the Vegas sun. Brock and I took that time to game plan what we were going to do. And he told told me that because he got me into that mess, he's gonna stay with me until my flight takes off. He's like, I'll drop you off at the airport and make sure you're totally out of here safe before I head home. And I appreciated that because I was here for a good trip and he pretty much ruined it. And the rest of the plan was to lay low, stay out of the way, and not get in any more trouble. So we
I
finally
decided
parked
during
some
my
gas, and
stream
it is
to
so much
listen
different
to
from the place that I was
a
staying because
podcast
those
from
brick
a
hotels on the strip
streamer,
are gorgeous. They're
a
absolutely
storyteller
paradise.
that I
And
like
we're
listening
staying in
to
front
on
of this place
YouTube.
that feels like really
Found out they have
nice,
like
but
a
it's early in
Spotify.
the day, so the neon lights of Vegas, you can't really see them. And this place in
Oh, nice.
particular,
That's a
the
good
town is
combo.
covered in
Storyteller
lights.
podcast plus
Everything
mining
about the
grind is a
outside
pretty
is
ideal
empty
background
except for
pairing.
nighttime.
Who's the
During the day, it just
storyteller?
felt
Anyone
so
I'd know?
old and outdated,
Uh,
but they were
on
gorgeous.
Spotify, they
And that's
are
all you
American
needed to know. You
Hex.
kind of begrudgingly walk
On
in,
YouTube,
testing the waters,
uh,
looking around, just making sure we're not getting any looks from bellboys or security like they were tipped off too. But it
their name
seems
is
like we're in the
Dougie
clear, so we make our
Coronado.
way up to the front desk to see if we could get a room. And we could tell immediately that we're totally going to be able to get a room because this place
Found
is
it. That's
unlike
Dougie
any other
Curado,
place
host
like
of
this.
American
Doing it
Hex, formerly
completely
called
different,
Immersive
doing it
Storytelling.
unmundane.
Horror and
He's
suspense
only
stuff.
got these
Sounds like a solid mining
shifts, and the
soundtrack,
people that were
honestly.
there weren't nearly as enthusiastic
I
as the
love the
brick
way that he
hotels.
tells
So we
stories.
had some optimism
He
as we
gets
started
like,
to
I
talk
don't
to
know.
the front desk receptionist. She was a little
I
bit
don't know if
nervous
they're
because
made up
even
or
though we
real,
were
but
part of
they
like a
sound
big
so
corporate
real.
place like Circus, they're supposed to be performative, but it was almost
Yeah,
like she
that's
was
kind of the whole
downplaying
appeal
the
of
fact
that
that like
immersive
it's just her
storytelling
life.
style.
But she
The
had these
details are
over-exaggerated
specific enough, and
aneurysms
the
to
delivery
complete the way
calm
she
enough that
greeted
it
us with
messes
very
with your sense of
profoundly.
whether
And
it's
part of me
fiction or
felt like she
not.
was gonna grab
Keeps
some
you hooked,
juggling balls from
wondering,
under the
right?
desk and start doing a couple tricks. But I finally got the words out that I needed to ask her, which were very clear. Do you have a room for us tonight? I didn't want to seem desperate. I didn't want to seem sketchy. I just wanted to see if they had a room. And she starts clacking on her keyboard. Again, overly exaggerated. And right after I ask her that, she replies in a completely deadpan tone, completely different from her performative actions. Sorry, we're completely out of rooms, especially for you two. And right then I realized that she was tipped off too. They're not going to take us, and we're completely stranded here. So I look over at Brock, and he's looking at me in that same concerned way, like she knows. And then she bursts out into laughter, like cackling laughter. She goes, I'm just kidding. We always have a room. Brock and I didn't laugh at all. She wasn't funny. That wouldn't even be funny if we weren't in the situation that we were in. It was like one of those corny, overdone clown jokes that nobody laughs at, like they honk their nose after, and that's the punchline because the joke wasn't funny. And she does that like kind of shoulder shrug because we didn't laugh. She's like, no, I use that joke on everybody. Usually it crushes. Trying to brush off the embarrassment of bad customer service that isn't being entertained. And she hands over our cards to our room that have our room number and floor on it. We just say thank you and we try to get out of there as quickly as we can. We're on the 5th floor, so we make our way through this lobby. You have to kind of go through the casino a little bit, and then you get to the elevators. We click the button, it doesn't take very long, one of them pops open, we get on there, and we click the 5th floor.
I think here in a
Doors
little bit, maybe
close,
we do
Brock
a
starts
little
asking me,
adventure change of pace and go on a treasure hunt.
Ooh, treasure hunt. Love it. You thinking you've got a treasure map already in hand? Or are we starting from scratch hunting one down first?
Oh, I have a treasure map.
Nice, then let's use it. Pull it up in your inventory and let's see where the X marks. Then we'll figure out the fastest way there from wherever you are now.
Honey, did you invite the minions over?
Well, you know how we talked about getting Wi-Fi from Xfinity?
Yeah.
I ordered it this morning. It was online in minutes. Then they showed up.
So they just came over to use the Wi-Fi? For what?
Better not to know.
Get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Plus, lock in your price for 5 years and see Minions and Monsters only in theaters. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Learn more at xfinity.com/same-day Wi-Fi.
This episode is brought to you by Workday. Guessing is for game shows, not your business, especially when your margin for error is zero. Workday is the enterprise AI platform for HR, finance, and IT.
I found a good, probably almost about 30 diamonds today.
So every AI action is permission aware.
Whoa, 30 diamonds in one session is huge. That's easily enough for a full set of tools and armor with plenty to spare. Nice haul. That vein must have been massive.
It's been in bits and pieces. I've been traveling quite a bit on a -59.
That tracks. Why negative 59 is basically prime diamond territory, so cruising along there while exploring is going to keep paying off like that.
Yeah. And I
Sounds
keep
like a
hitting the blocks above my head and stuff too to see if there's anything above me. And that's been helping out, especially with like iron and stuff.
smart. Checking the ceiling as you go is an easy habit that pays off, catches all the ore people miss, by only looking at floor level and walls. Nice. Sounds like your mining route's getting pretty efficient.
Yeah, I found a good stack of iron and like 30 diamonds or so.
That's an awesome haul. You're set on both iron and diamonds now. You said you had a treasure map pulled up. You want to go ahead and check the coordinates on it, or hunt down that X first.
And I see the recognition in Brock's eyes too. And we both look up at the number it's showing on the floor where it was going down. We were at the lobby, which you would think is the ground floor, but
I
there's
keep
multiple
forgetting to
floors
set down
under this
torches.
hotel. And we're going one,
Just had some zombies come up
two,
behind me.
down. And Brock and I panic at the same time because we think this
Yeah,
elevator is
that'll
gonna
happen.
open.
Easy to
There's an
get tunnel
exit
vision
collapse
when you're
like that
following
behind
ore
us.
veins
And
and
this was
forget
gonna be
lighting.
a sick joke, and this was
Worth
gonna be
tossing a
sick
torch
joke
down
at the
every
end.
8 blocks or
Give us
so as you go.
fatalities that kick us
Cheap
out of the
insurance
top
against
entrance.
getting
We're
jumped from
so
behind.
nervous about these doors opening and having to go through the exact same thing that we did the day before that we're both pressed against the walls of this elevator anticipating these doors open. But it stops at the bottom floor and they don't open. The elevator just starts going up. Goes up, 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 lobby, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the doors calmly open on the 5th floor. We kind of look at each other like, oh, we're silly. We're totally silly for that. Like, we got way too scared for that. It was probably just an employee that hit the button and then like canceled it. I don't know. Who knows? But we're so paranoid from the day before that we let that get to us. We get off the elevator, we make it to the room. It's a very standard room, 2 queen beds. We put all of our stuff down and I see a camera on the desk in the corner. It's not a regular camera, it's like a Polaroid camera. And there's a little note next to it that says 1 photo is complimentary, so you remember your stay here. And I remember thinking, that's actually a fun, quirky perk. We should probably do that. But first things first, we needed to shower and we needed to take a nap because we were absolutely exhausted. Brock goes first, I wait 5 minutes, I go second, and before you know it, we are out cold on our queen beds. And this is where that stay gets very weird. I was sleeping like a baby. I'm talking a bed has never felt so good. And eventually, I wake up. It's kind of like an abrupt wake up, like I heard something and my body kind of shocked awake. The first thing I do is
I want to do
I
some
feel like recognizing
redstone,
Brock
red
because
dust
how hectic
stuff,
it
because
was.
I have like so much of it.
And I look over and I see Brock isn't in his bed. And then I start to scan the room.
Nice. What were you thinking? Another clock or dispenser setup, or something bigger this time, like a hidden door or a trap for that pyramid idea you mentioned earlier?
Punched a hole through drywall, like there was a false door there, or more like a secret door that if you closed it, you
I'm
wouldn't
not
be able to
sure.
tell it would look like.
I would really like to find a mining shaft.
It was just cracked open a little bit. Looked like complete darkness behind it, and my stomach totally drops. And I'm thinking,
Ah, mine shaft,
possibly
gotcha.
So I
Best
jump
bet at
up
your
out of
depth
bed,
is just keep an eye out for wooden planks, fence posts, or rails poking out of cave walls. They often intersect natural caves. If you're on bedrock and want to skip the guesswork, you could type /locate structure mineshaft in chat to get exact coordinates if cheats / commands are enabled on your world.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't want to have cheats enabled. I wanted to be able to do this like as straightforward as I can, like legitimately without doing any commands.
Totally fair. Keeps the challenge intact. In that case, just keep tunneling and cave diving the way you have been, Mesa or Badlands. Biomes tend to have way more mine shafts if you've got one nearby. Otherwise, following ravines and existing cave systems is your best bet for stumbling into one naturally.
Are Badlands next to any other kind of like biome? Do biomes mix together in a certain way?
Yeah, Badlands typically borders warm, dry biomes. So think desert, savanna, sometimes jungle nearby. So if you find a desert worth exploring the edges, since Badlands often pops up right next to it, and that'd also be a solid spot for your pyramid idea, since deserts and
Yeah.
Badlands.
Where would I find desert? What are they next to?
So I call out to Brock again. No answer whatsoever. But I see this Polaroid, and I could see some of the details, but it's pretty small.
Deserts tend to border savannas, badlands, and sometimes mangrove swamps or stony shores, and occasionally warm oceans. So, really, any of those warm, dry biomes travel together. So, if you spot a savanna or mangrove swamp on your travels, it's worth pushing a bit further. Desert or badlands might be just past it.
Not a selfie, but his mouth is wide open, like too long, and a little bit off to the side as if his jaw is hanging off his head. And I start to
Okay,
absolutely
what does a
because I
mangrove
think
swamp look
what we
like?
did yesterday, what Brock did yesterday and brought me into, got us into actual real trouble. Like I'm talking Las Vegas
Look for a
mob
muddy,
violence. And I told
waterlogged
you about this
area
earlier,
with thick
and this was
clusters
never
of
shown
tall
me,
mangrove
but they did
trees.
that to my friend.
They've got
And I'm
tangled
absolutely
aerial
panicking.
roots and
These
reddish
pictures are
wood
so
with
graphic,
dark
I
gray
could throw
bark,
it onto
plus
the
a lot of
countertop
vines hanging
in the
around.
bathroom. And the
Ground
second
floor
I hit the
is all
countertop,
mud
the
blocks
lights in the
instead of
bathroom
regular
go off,
dirt or
and I think
grass,
they're coming from
so
me
it'll
next.
look
But then the
distinctly
mirror
swampy and
that's
dark
in the
green from a
bathroom that
distance.
Polaroid was stuck to lights up like it's a two-way mirror, like in one of those interrogation rooms. And there's a room of people on the other side of the mirror, like partying and laughing.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Faces are
anything that
covered in
looks like
confetti,
that.
and my knees buckle, and the second my tailbone makes contact with
No
the floor,
worries,
my
mangrove
core
swamps are
begins to
actually
rumble.
pretty
I do a
rare,
big
so
gasp,
it's
and I sit
totally
like
normal
dead.
not to have run into one
And I
yet.
realized that
Have
that
you
was
spotted
only
any desert or
the
savanna
dream,
nearby,
and I'm
or
so
is your
relieved
area mostly
because it felt
forest,
like an
plains,
actual
and
nightmare.
caves so
A
far?
secret door, a graphic
Forest,
photo of my
plains,
friend,
and
a group
caves,
of
and
weirdos
I'm in
behind
like
a two-way
swampland.
mirror,
That's where my home
laughing
base
and
is.
partying on the other side of this fake wall that they made just
Ah,
to
gotcha.
disturb me.
So you're already
It
in
was such
regular
a good
swamp
feeling
then.
knowing
That
my bed
tracks.
was not
Regular
real at
swamps
all.
tend to
So I'm
border
fully sitting
forests
up,
and
and I felt
plains
those
like you're
stress lights
seeing,
on me,
so
and I look
desert
over,
or
and Brock
badlands
isn't
are
in his
probably
car.
going
At
to
the
be
time
a
when the
good
video was
distance
taken,
out from
it
you.
was clearly
Might be
nighttime.
worth a
So I'm like,
longer
okay, a lot of
exploration
hours
trip
have
if you
passed.
really
I
want to
don't really
chase
know
that
how long
pyramid
Brock's
spot
asleep for.
down.
So maybe he went down to go get some food. And if I'm gonna be honest, I got up and I checked that secret wall and I like cupped my hands on the mirror to make sure nobody was actually behind it. Like I double checked the room. But then I made my way back to my bed. I was gonna throw on some shoes, maybe a change of clothes, and I noticed that the Polaroid camera's gone. And in its place is a little Polaroid. And I'm not gonna pretend like I didn't get a little scared. Because I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be that horrible open mouth, broken jaw face. But the Polaroid was face down, and I could see that there was a little note on the Polaroid, and it was Brock's handwriting. And I knew it was Brock's handwriting because he did those like fake graffiti sketches on anything he could get his hands on, and it was in that same lettering. So I'm like, okay, here's a note from my friend. He's gonna tell me where he's at. And on the back of this note, just scribbled on there, it says, I don't gamble. LOL. Like he wrote out LOL. So I'm like, okay, he's joking. And I look at the photo. Part of me thought it was going to be terrifying still. I laughed at myself when it was just a photo of him at a slot machine. So he was showing me like where he was, but it was somebody took it from behind him and like 10 feet back. Like someone just brought the Polaroid downstairs and was like, hey, snap a photo for my friend. Whatever.
Sorry,
But he
didn't
was
quite
showing me
catch
where he
that.
was
Could you
and
say
put a
that
little
again?
inside joke on it.
Oh, I
So I put on
sneezed.
some clothes, I put on some shoes, and I head out of the hotel
Huh,
room to my
bless you.
apartment.
Anyway,
Elevator,
want to keep pushing
check
outward to
out,
try to find that
stops on the
desert,
top
or
floor,
hop back
and
to
then I'm
something
searching
closer to
for a
home for
casino
now?
floor.
Oh, I'm
And I
still
realized during that
underground
search,
mining.
the way casinos are set up, and I was still in a slightly
Gotcha.
paranoid
Let's stick
state,
with that
and I was
then.
looking for
Plenty of
exits.
diamonds
You
still
know,
to
when you're
find
just out
down
doing
at
some
negative
compost work,
59.
something goes
Keep
down,
an
you
eye
gotta
out
get
for
out of
those
there.
mine
And I
shaft
realized that
signs
all
while
like
you're
the
at it.
hallways
Wood
or
planks or
the
rails
lamps and
poking
everything
through
is
cave
formatted,
walls.
it literally makes you not able to see
Yeah, what
exits
level
in
do
the
they
hallway.
usually spawn
And
at?
even
I
though
wouldn't
it's
think that they'd be
it's kind of
down
a
this
funny little
far.
trick to keep people in casinos. Like
Anytime I
even when
found
you're
one,
in
they
it,
were never
there's just
down this
more
far.
gambling, more food, or more drinks.
Timberland Pro knows that NASCAR starts long before the green flag waves.
Actually, you're right. In range, mine shafts generate anywhere from Y, negative 64, up to about Y 45 in most biomes. So, negative 59 is well within where they'd show up. You've just gotten unlucky so far. Keep watching those cave walls. You've got just as good a shot down there as anywhere.
Visit TimberlandPro.com and discover products that help workers perform at their best.
Honey, did you invite the minions over?
Well, you know how we talked about getting Wi-Fi from Xfinity?
Yeah.
I ordered it this morning. It was online in minutes. Then they showed up.
So they just came over to use the Wi-Fi? For what?
Get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Plus, lock in your price for 5 years and see Minions and Monsters only in theaters. Xfinity.
Oh, I almost suffocated from
Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas.
sandstone
More at
or gravel.
xfinity.com/same-day Wi-Fi.
This episode is
Careful, back away from that block before you dig further into it. Gravel, especially, can bury you fast if there's a stack above you. Sounds like you might be under a desert or beach pocket underground. You want to mine it out slowly from an angle instead of straight up into it?
Well, I'm at negative 59. I don't think there'd be something this deep. I'm under the ocean, I think. Or I'm underneath that one mountain.
Yeah, gravel and sand can actually generate in pockets at any depth if there was an underground aquifer or buried gravel patch nearby. So it's not that unusual even down there. It might be worth digging a small side tunnel first to peek before committing. Safer than punching straight through a gravel wall blind.
Oh, I didn't work past it. It was just a few little spots.
Ah, easy then. Just a small pocket. No big deal. Go ahead and clear it out carefully, and you should be fine.
Mary at the Department of Rejected Dreams. If you had a dream rejected, IKEA can make it possible.
Hey, I dreamed I'd be ready for college.
Now you're way behind?
Yes, and I have no idea how I'll get it all done on time and in my budget.
Well, luckily, IKEA has everything you need to make it your space on your budget. And with everything ready to take away from our stores with Click and Collect, it's easier than ever.
That's convenient.
Exactly. Get IKEA whenever, wherever, however at IKEA.us. IKEA, dream the possibilities.
Drinks, or more fun, stay, and everything blends together really seamlessly. So I'm looking at this Polaroid that he left me, literally holding it up in front of my face, trying to match the slot machines to find my friend, and I'm going around for like 25 minutes until I finally find him in this back corner where there's these retro slot machines, and I see him from the back, and as I'm getting closer, I'm literally standing in the same position as whoever took this photo. And initially I'm excited to see my friend, but then as I'm looking around and I'm looking at the style of slot machines and the look of the carpet and the ceiling, it's reminding me of the Polaroid from the dream. It's pretty much the same setting, even though it's kind of blurry. I'm trying to convince myself to not work myself up like that. But as I'm walking slowly towards my friend, who I see his arms moving, he's playing the machine. I'm kind of anticipating him to look like he did in the dream Polaroid. And I start to circle around him and I see his arm that's on the handle. It's kind of gripped the exact same way. So I start shuffling around and he pulls the lever and I'm starting to freak out because I see the side of his face and I see that his mouth is making an O. I'm like, oh my God, there was truth to that. Like that was a real photo. How did my mind conjure that? But then I take one more step and he starts celebrating. He was just going like, oh yeah, because he won that round. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such a dork for working myself up like that in that moment, convincing myself that I've just entered my nightmare. And he looks up at me and he's like, oh, what's up, dude? I'm like, okay, that was so silly of me. And I'm so relieved. And I'm just like, hey, I just woke up. How long have you been up for? He answers quickly. He's still playing the slots. I'm like, dude, I'm hungry. We gotta eat. And then we probably should just go back to sleep again because the flight's early tomorrow morning. And he nods his head and he agrees and he just keeps playing. And we're chatting a little bit because I'm not trying to rush him off his seat. Like, he's doing his thing. But he keeps playing and he keeps playing. I'm like, all right, dude, like, I gotta eat. And he's like, yeah, we will. Keep playing. And then eventually I have to, like, tap his shoulder and be like, I'm not joking, dude. Come on, let's get out of here. Stop playing the slots. And I see him shake his head really hard. And he stands up really fast and steps away from the slot machine and looks at it kind of with disgust. And I'm like, you got into a rhythm, huh? And he's like, yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Let's get out of here. And I can tell he's like almost like a little bit ashamed. And I didn't want him to feel ashamed. Like he's playing, he's blowing off some steam, whatever. But he kind of scurries away from it and we start walking towards the door. He seems to brush it off enough. And I make a little joke about it. And I'm like, so it turns out you do gamble, huh? And he's like, yeah, I guess, and shrugs his shoulders. And I hold up the back end of the Polaroid of the note that he left me. And I'm like, you little liar. Just messing with him. Because it says, I don't gamble, LOL. And he looks at it, totally confused. And he stops walking. He's like, what is that? And I like look at the note and I hold it up, making sure I showed him the right side. And I'm like, it's a note you left me. That's how I found you. Because I didn't leave you a note. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? So I hand him the Polaroid. He looks at it. And I feel like he's recognizing that it's his handwriting. Or at least something similar that would fool me. And then he flips it over and he looks at the photo, which he's in the photo. And he goes, I didn't leave this for you. I have no idea who took this photo. Panic sets in. I literally feel chills from my ankles to my ears when he says that to me. Because that means so many things. It means someone came into our room while I was sleeping, took the Polaroid, went downstairs to where he was playing, snapped the photo, came back up, got into the room a second time and left it for me. So I could bring it to him and he could have it this moment. And the only thing we think about in that moment is where is the person that did that? Because if they But to that extent, you would imagine they would want to see your reaction when you realize that this place is borderline empty. And the people that are there are paying no mind to us. Literally just like a couple older people with ciggies in their mouth, ripping the slot machines. And outside of that, the odd workers that are being overly circus performative. And both of our minds go to the same place. The people that caught Brock yesterday are still following us. They know we're here and they're trying to let us know that we're not safe anywhere we go, even if they allowed us here. They have people following us. We didn't even need to say a word to each other. The decision was made. They win, they ran us out of town. If I needed to stay and sleep in an airport lobby, that's what I was gonna do. I was getting out of Vegas. And we start heading towards the elevator to go up as fast as we can, grab all of our belongings. Our heads are on a swivel, weaving our way through this confusing casino that has all of these windy hallways. We finally get to the elevator that we know goes up directly near our room. We're slamming on the button. Nobody's really around. Like I said, barely any foot traffic. It opens up. We get on, and Brock goes on the side where the buttons are, and I hear him tapping profusely on like the closed door. And I'm leaning out of the elevator, making sure nobody else is getting onto our elevator. And once they start to close, I hear him hit one of the buttons. That's like the floor that we're going to. I take a step back and the doors close. So at least nobody was on this elevator with us. And it was one of those moments where your body is anticipating one thing, but something else happens. You know, like when you're on a train and you grab the handle and you know what direction the train is going? So you know like where to put your weight, the way you're planting your feet, the way you're holding your leverage. Your body anticipates the movement. So I have my feet planted, and it's different than a train because it's going vertically instead of horizontally. My body is prepared to go up, and this elevator plummets, and it feels like I was on a roller coaster, and we just went over a drop. I'm talking my stomach goes into my throat because I was expecting to go up, and we're going down again. And I freak out, and I whip my head towards my friend, who I am assuming is going to be panicking just like me. And Brock is standing in the corner with his heels touching, both of his arms out at his sides, with his fingertips touching each wall of the elevator, and his head hunched forward at me with a big grin on his face. And he basically grunts, "I want to go back down." And he's standing like a little vampire bat freak. And I don't think it's funny at all. So I start repeating to him, "I don't think that's funny. Brock, I don't think that's funny. Stop." Because I thought he was taking this seriously like I was. Now I think he's playing a practical joke on me. But he's staying in this weird posture, and this elevator's plummeting to whatever below ground floor this is. I'm about to have a panic attack when the doors actually open this time. And I don't think it's funny because I'm looking out into these weird tunnel hallways that Brock and I were kicked out of and sent into the night previous. I didn't want to have to go through that again. And I look at the buttons, and he clicked down. It's not like they went down like they did the day previously before we went to sleep. He clicked the bottom floor. And as I'm turning my head back towards him, like, why would you do that? He's already running past me into these tunnels, in the deep, deep basements of Vegas. And I'm not in on the joke. So I start tapping, "Close the doors. You think it's funny to bring us down here? I think it's funny to leave you down here. You got me into all this trouble anyway. Bye, buddy." And I'm tapping it rigorously. Some would say viciously. And these doors close, and I start going up. I don't feel bad at all. He wants to mess with me like that? Have fun in the tunnels, dude. But I'm still freaking out because I don't think he was joking about the Polaroid. Whatever he was doing, the fear on his face was real when he saw that photo. And I get up to the 5th floor, I get out of the elevator, I get to our room. I'm basically sprinting down that hallway. I scan in, I feel like somebody's chasing me. I open the door, and the first thing that you see is the 2 queen beds, and I see someone laying in Brock's bed. And I stop dead in my tracks because I'm looking at the shirt, and it's the shirt that Brock was wearing the day before. But the room was really dim, and I see the shape of the head and like the side of the face. Looks like Brock sleeping. And it was one of those moments where even though you're frantic and freaking out, you want confirmation. When you enter a room where somebody's dead asleep, you become considerate. No matter, like, that's your gut reaction, is to not wake this person up. Even if you were sprinting into the room and you slam.
It's me, the... We don't need the jingle twice. Stop it. This is about vacation inflation and how Priceline negotiates amazing deals on hotels, flights, and rental cars. Yeah, but I didn't mention that you can save up to 60% off hotels in the Priceline app. Fine. No one deals more deals than... Please stop. Touche. While some guys are sweating whether to risk it all in an up-and-coming rookie, fall back on a trusted vet, or to just ride with whatever the auto draft tosses at them, gearing up with a limitless collection of comfort and style is always a sure thing. Versed. Guys wear that guys wear. Only at Dick's.
1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. That chocolate crispy taste gonna make your day, and wherever you go, you'll hear the people say, give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Have a break, have a Kit Kat.
Hello, this is Mary at the Department of Rejected Dreams. If you had a dream rejected, IKEA can make it possible.
Hey, I dreamed I'd be ready for college way ahead of time.
And now you're way behind?
Yes, and I have no idea how I'll get it all done on time and in my budget.
Well, luckily, IKEA has everything you need to make it your space on your budget. And with everything ready to take away from our stores with Click and Collect, it's easier than ever.
That's convenient.
Exactly.
Get IKEA whenever, wherever, however at IKEA.us. IKEA, dream the possibilities.
Every mile matters, whether you're driving your dream car or your daily commuter. The Mobil 1 team knows that. It's why we created Mobil 1 Advanced Clean Motor Oil. It cleans your engine in one oil change and helps extend engine life, delivering performance, protection, and cleanliness for vehicles of all ages. All to help keep your engine running like new, whatever you're driving. Visit mobil1.com/advancedclean to learn more.
Slam the door open. They didn't wake up yet. You're like, oh, you still have that moment of recognition. Do I wake them up or not? So I close the door quietly behind me.
Jeez,
Lights
is
are
it
really
time for me
dim.
to sleep already?
The closer I get, the more I realize this is 100% Brock. I can see it. I know what my friend looks like. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, who was that in the elevator? Because that sure as hell looked like Brock too. And I get up to his bed and I have to walk around the foot of his bed and around to see his face. And I'm trying to see if his eyes are awake. Maybe he has his phone in front of his face and he's scrolling. Maybe he's already awake. But I get around and he has his hand covering his face like he's kind of like nuzzling in bed. And I decide I'm waking him up. I have to wake him up. Because I still have this Polaroid in my hand. And I don't really know what just happened. So I reach my right hand out and I shake his shoulder like one good one. And his body falls from on his side to his back. And his hand falls to his side, and it reveals his face with his mouth wide open, way too far, and the jaw basically hanging off of his head. And he's looking at me like he's like this lifeless, slack-jawed anaconda. And in that exact moment, I hear from right behind me, I want to go back down. And I spin around as fast as I can, and I see this long, dark silhouette of something deep in the back corner of this room, with its heels touching, its arms out at its sides, and its head hunched forward, and I can see this contorted grin on its face. And the thing is as tall as the ceiling, and like less than a foot wide. Sorry, Brock, I'm out. I take 2 large steps towards the door in a full panic sprint, and I slip like I'm a victim in a scary movie, like I don't have an ounce of athleticism in me, and I bang my face on the floor. And the second my cheekbone hits that carpet, I wake up. I didn't wake up hours later in a different room in a hospital with a concussion. I woke up from the second dream. It was a loop. I didn't even wake up the first time. It felt real that second time. It really, really did. But the second one was a dream too. And I promise you, I'm not going to do that again. At that moment, I actually woke up. I really was awake. There's no third loop here. There's no trick to this story. I knew without a shadow of a doubt I was awake. It felt completely different. The second one, I had relief that the first dream wasn't real, but it was all a setup. It was just this one looping nightmare. And I woke up to Brock shaking me awake and him going like, dude, your flight's in an hour, we gotta go. And he's groggy and tired, and it's literally the next morning. And I'm trying to shake off that dream. You know when you have a really like severe nightmare, like you almost feel gross, but it's almost so fleeting right away. Like it almost takes you some time to re-remember it after you jolt yourself awake. It's kind of what it was like. Like I had that excess disgusting feeling inside of me, like borderline violated, but I almost forgot half of it the second I was awake. And I'm throwing together my suitcase because I do have to leave. We got to go right now. I get on my clothes for that day. He calls me an Uber. He fulfilled his promise. He's like, dude, I'm going to make the first stop. the airport, then I'm going to take myself home in the Uber on the second stop, but I'm going to bring you all the way to the airport. We get our stuff together, we go into that elevator, it doesn't go down to the basement, it just goes to the lobby. We walk off, more people are coming in, it's a little bit more lively. We go to the front desk to check out. It's that same very performative lady doing the same similar things. Right when we walk up to the desk, she like leans in, looks at me in the face and goes, "So do you want to check out?" And then she looks at Brock and she goes, "Or do you want to stay another night?" And she had one of those eerily familiar faces. Like I just couldn't put a finger on it. And at the same time, we're like, we just want to check out. So we do it very quickly. We head out of that hotel. We get into the Uber. We have a couple minutes of silence. And then I want to check in on my friend because we had a really rough 48 hours. Specifically the day prior. Had nothing to do with the nightmares. And I ask him if he's all good, if everything's okay. He kind of shrugs and looks at me and he goes, "Honestly, dude, I'm over it if you're over it. But I could tell something was wrong." And I'm like, "No, dude, like, what's up?" And he's like, "Dude, to be honest, I just had the worst night of sleep of my life." Which was weird because we slept for 16 hours. We got there early in the day. We slept through the entire day, through the night, into the next morning. 16 straight. How could you have the worst night's sleep? And he said, "I just had this terrible dream that I couldn't get out of." And I look at him across that Uber, and I'm like, "What was it about?" He's like, "No, dude, it was nothing." I'm like, "Tell me what it's about." And this man proceeds to tell me the exact same dream that I had experienced. I'm talking detail for detail, identical, but with the roles reversed. He found a Polaroid with me in it, and I was gone, and he went to go get me from the slot machine. And he saw that same entity, and it said the same thing. "I want to go back down." And I knew I was never going to Vegas again. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please like if you haven't already. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you want more stories just like this one. And just watch the previous video on the channel if you want more context to this story that you just watched. And if you like this video, YouTube thinks you would also like this one.
Did you know that mosquitoes have killed almost half of all people who have ever lived? Today, people are fighting back. With support from the Gates Foundation, American scientists and partners around the world have developed a new generation of bed nets that can kill up to 90% of mosquitoes exposed to them, helping cut malaria rates in half. The result? A safer, healthier future for everyone. The Gates Foundation, partners of human potential. Search gatesfoundation.org/mosquito to learn more.
Hi, I'm Jacob, your friend and an actual jeweler craftsman at Shane Company. I'm proud to work for a family business that's been committed to the highest quality standards for nearly 100 years. Your dream engagement ring is designed for quality every step of the way. We set your diamond by hand, not with machines. Prong tips are beautiful and secure, and intricate details are thoughtfully crafted. At Shane Company, there's no shortcuts, just craftsmanship. Because a friend knows true love deserves the highest quality. Visit us in store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
do it like this instead of going on the back. Well, it's boring watching a road get put down. Almost wonder if there's anything on the other side of that pillager outpost going out that way.
need you to listen very closely. There's something terrifying going on in the deep woods of Washington State. This is one of the most remote and unforgiving places in America. It's called Olympic National Park, but tucked inside Olympic National Park is an even stranger place. It's called the Hoh Rainforest, and you hear people talk about how beautiful that place is, the way the moss hangs from the trees and how everything feels ancient and untouched. The place looks like an absolute fairy tale, but nobody ever tells you to leave before the sun goes down, when they really should. They should also tell you about all of the people that seemingly vanish into thin air, leaving perfectly good campsites behind. And the missing people that they do end up finding, they shouldn't just report that they found them safe. They make it seem like they were found and everything is okay. But when you see a picture of the person, they look like a mutilated shell of their former self. There are very strange things going on in those woods, and we had no idea just how much they were hiding until we got trapped in there ourselves. If you're a regular viewer on the channel, Happy New Year, and please like the video before we start. If this is your first time on the channel, consider subscribing, and if you're watching on a podcast platform, please consider giving us a 5-star review. At least once a year, I need a real adventure, and luckily I married somebody that also needs that, and likes to hyperfixate on the best locations to get lost in the woods in beautiful areas. And there was one specific place this year that my wife and I couldn't stop thinking about. It's all we did. Every time we peeked over at each other's phones, we were both researching the Hoh Rainforest in Olympic National Park. If you haven't heard of it, the place is spectacular. It is a legitimate moss-filled rainforest in America. You don't think about rainforests when you think of American national parks. You think of deep woods and forests and alpine terrain. When you think rainforest, you think South America. But we have a legitimate one in Washington State. And once we found out about it, we had to come up with the perfect trip. And we aren't the type to speed through places.
Everywhere.
Like if we're going to a place like that, we want to be there for a couple days.
Careful, watch your back. Creepers are brutal at close range, especially if you've got diamonds on you unprotected. You got a sword ready, or you trying to just outrun them?
What Olympic National Park is like. So really simply, this was our itinerary. Fly into Washington, drive into Olympic
I
National
don't
Park,
know what I'm doing at
and
this
then there's
point.
2 main trails. We
I
wanted to
was
do the
wanting
Hall
to
of
start building
Mosses
the
on the
road, but
first
it's
day,
starting
very
to get
simple, and then
boring.
hike the Hoh River Trail, stop at 5 Mile Island. Finish
Yeah,
the first day
fair.
in Lewis
Road
Meadows,
building
Temple
can get
Meadows,
repetitive
then hike from
fast,
Lewis
especially
Meadows
solo
to the
without
Blue
much
Glacier,
payoff
which is
beyond function.
incredible. Spend the
Want to
night
switch
with
gears,
glacier
maybe
meadows, and
head
make
back
our
to
way
that
back
pyramid
at a
planning,
leisurely pace
or
to really
keep
keep
chasing
up.
that
And
mine
treat
shaft
yourself
and
to a
diamond
cipher
vein
on the way
instead,
back for
since
one
that was
extra
actually
night. So
paying
that's
off.
exactly what we
I
did.
really
We got
gotta
off the road,
find a
rented a car,
desert area.
got to
There's
the
like
parking lot,
sandy
got our
areas, but
gear
no
on, and we
desert.
started walking to the Hall of Mosses. That's the most common area. There's a
Yeah,
lot of people.
those
Most
sandy
people aren't
patches you're
feeling very
finding
good
are
about
probably
all the way
just
to the Blue
beach
Glacier.
or
Most people
river
are just
sand
doing the Hall of
pockets,
Mosses, just
not
as
a true
dangerous.
desert
Some
biome.
people were doing something
Might be
called
worth
the
hopping on a
Harvard Moss.
boat
They were
and
going to
exploring
summit
along
Mount
the
Olympus,
coastline
and
a
that's a
good
bit
distance.
further than the Blue Glacier.
Deserts
So
often
there's
show
not
up
like
as a
an
big
easy
open stretch of
journey
sand
in a
meeting
car
the
when it
ocean,
comes to all these
distinct
beach
from those
trips,
little
but the
beach
majority of
strips.
the people are just there for the Hall of Mosses, and the vibes were super good. Everybody was excited. It almost feels a little bit touristy right at the beginning because it's so accessible, and you get something that looks so enchanted that you can just drive into, and it's like a short, small hike. There's even kids there. So when you have a touristy spot like that, sometimes it attracts other people. What we weren't expecting was an emergency situation to be occurring as we were arriving, especially at a slightly touristy location like that. So we're literally walking up to get our permits to start our day, and there are first responders
Are
bringing
you
this
able to
woman
read
out of the
transcripts
Hoh River
of
trailhead, and she
podcasts
is
and stuff?
screaming like a maniac. Like it was clear that she needed
I
to
can
be
search the
saved.
web for
Like maybe
info
she
about
got lost out there, maybe
podcasts,
she got
episode
injured, we couldn't
summaries,
tell. But she
discussions
seemed to
about
be
them,
fighting off the hell,
that kind of thing,
screaming
but
like her dog.
I can't
She
listen to
was
audio
screaming.
or pull a
She
full
looked like
transcript
she had been lost
directly
for a couple days,
unless
and they had her on
someone's
like
actually
a
published one
push-up
online.
stretcher. 4 dudes
Were you
carrying her.
thinking
She was
about a
trying to
specific
fight back,
episode
almost
from
trying to
Dougie
get
Corrado?
back in, but you could see it in her eyes that she had experienced something absolutely traumatizing, and all she wanted
Yeah,
was her dog.
I was
She
wondering
was
if I
screaming
like
about it, and
discussed
everybody
the
could.
episode that I was watching with you,
Everybody
if
was
you'd be
so
able to like
excited to
converse
start their
with it.
day, but now we see this woman on the worst day of
Yeah,
her life,
totally. If you
basically
tell me what
trapped
happened in the
at the place that
episode
we're all
or
going,
what
and
stood
we're
out to
seeing
you,
this unfold
I
before
can
our
absolutely
eyes.
dig into it
But
with you.
eventually, they
Well,
made
Theories.
contact with us because they have to get back to
on
the
his
car. They
podcast
took a
of
better
We've
look at
Been
this woman
Lied
as she
to
passed us
Olympic
by, and
National
she is not in good
Park.
shape. I don't know what what she would do if she got away from these first responders to get back into the forest, because she had major bandaging.
Found it. That's the one titled We've Been Lied to. Olympic National Park would shut down if the truth came out. So, what's it been building up so far? What's got your attention?
Oh, I'm just like a minute or so in. I was just curious on if you would be able to discuss it, that's all.
And nobody could do anything but watch as she was put into
Ah, gotcha. No worries. As you keep listening, feel free to fill me in on the juicy parts. I'm always down to speculate on whether it's real or just a very well-told campfire story.
Nobody's talking. She's the only one that's screaming. Absolute profanities, freaking out. And they put her in the back of an ambulance, and she's gone. And it's silent for about 30 seconds before everybody gets on with their day. So we finish up our permits, and we start making our way to the Hall of Mosses. And we're talking to some other people that are around, and there's a really nice couple that's clearly doing the exact same thing that the professor did. And we have a brief, simple conversation, just like, what do you think that was about? Did you hear anything that happened to her? Is there anything we should be worried about? And they were as clueless as we were. They heard the same things that we heard. And as we're walking in to the area where you start the Hall of Mosses trail, I noticed something else that's a little bit weird for a place like that. There seems to be a homeless man, and he seems to be trying to sell necklaces. And everybody's completely ignoring this man because it's an odd place to be doing this. And when I assess the situation, I think he's doing that necklace and like wristband scam. I don't know if any of you have experienced that. They like pretend to give it to you as a gift, but then they ask for a donation. It becomes this very awkward back and forth. So everybody is kind of just putting their blinders on and ignoring this guy and walking past. But we're a little bit more on the empathetic side, so as we walk past him, I make eye contact with him, and he gives me a big smile, and he's holding out this necklace. And I have a couple dollars in my pocket, you know? He's out here like in the woods. The least I could do is throw this guy a 5 spot for a necklace, and we could just use it as a souvenir. So I accepted. I let him put it on me. I let him put one on Jess, and I force $5 into his hand, and he throws another big smile at me, and he's like, God bless you. One thing that was very odd about him was that when he smiled, it looked like he had like a grill on, like fully silver teeth. And I thought that was really odd because, not that it looked expensive, but it looked well made. And I wasn't expecting him to have bad teeth or no teeth or anything of that nature. I just wasn't expecting like a grill on the top and the bottom of a seemingly homeless man near the Hoh Rainforest. And he tries to give necklaces to the couple that we're with, but they're ignoring him. They kind of walk ahead of us because we're not there together, so they get a little bit of distance. They were probably annoyed that we interacted with him, and this is where we were going to part ways anyway. And he hands me my $5 back, and he's like, I don't need this. I just want you to be safe. And he introduces himself as Felix. And I'm like, good man, Felix. I appreciate the souvenir. And he lets us go on our way. And I didn't think anything about it. I was like, okay, I guess he is just giving out free necklaces. He's just a kind-hearted guy. So we start the Hall of Mosses trail, and it's everything that we ever wanted. The place is incredible. And when you're in a place like that, especially with that much moss around you, it feels like the quietest place on earth. You could hear your own breathing. You could almost hear your own heartbeat. It's like a soundproof room because of the moss. It works the same as like foam padding on a wall. It muffles all sound. Sound doesn't carry whatsoever. You could shout at the top of your lungs. Somebody's 30 feet away. They can barely hear you. So everybody has a little bit of a distance from each other. Everybody's hiking in small groups, so everybody can experience that isolation of the Hoh Rainforest where it feels legitimately magical. And that Hall of Mosses trail, like I said, very short. And when we were finished with it, we knew that we had an amazing adventure ahead of us. We were so excited. So we start the Hoh River Trail. And the first 2-3 miles of it, it's very similar to the Hall of Mosses before the terrain changes into a little bit more mountainous, a little bit more pine trees. So we had that really, really quiet rainforest for the first hour and a half of the major hike that we were doing. And once we were about 45 minutes into our hike, the main part of our day, we were pretty isolated. Everybody starts to spread out once they get onto the main trail much further. And we're starting to sweat, we're huffing and puffing, so we're talking less. And the immense quiet started to get a little bit overwhelming. I wasn't used to it. And I'm hearing every step that we're taking, and I'm hearing all of my own breaths. I hear my jacket rubbing from my arms to my torso. I hear everything that's going on with Jess. But then I started to hear something else. It wasn't an animal sound, it wasn't birds chirping, it wasn't a predator. It sounded like another set of footsteps, but they were heavier, as if somebody was in an animated fashion stomping pretty close by us, but trying to imitate like long strides, as if something really tall and heavy was walking nearby. The first few times I heard it, I kind of ignored it, but eventually I put my hand on Jess and I told her to stop, and I asked her if she heard that too. And she smiled. She said, I thought you were just walking really heavy. Sometimes you stomp your feet. She wasn't lying. Sometimes I stomp around. But we were both standing still, and we heard 2 or 3 heavy steps. And we're looking around and we're like, what could that possibly be? Because it sounds like something with 2 legs. It sounds like somebody pretending to stomp. Doesn't sound like a bear, but eventually it stopped, so we continued to walk. And once we started to get into a flow again, it came back. That's when I started to really not like it, because it felt like it was so close, and it felt like it was following us. So we start talking about it again, and I'm like, this has to be a figment of our imagination, right? Like, because the sound is so dampened, we might just be hearing like hard heartbeats, and there's nothing else to drown out the sound, so we're getting confused by it. But we start walking, and we hear it again, but you could kind of feel the vibration of it on your foot. Like, it isn't just a sound, it's also a feeling. And it's coming from right off of trail every time we start moving. So we figure it must be all of the moss, and we're like, all right, let's just get out of this area. There should only be a couple more miles of it. Let's pick up the pace, let's ignore it. Let's get more into that pine tree forest terrain and see if it stops. So we really start picking up the pace, and we plan on slowing down later. So we know that we're gonna be able to conserve energy, and we're gonna take a longer stop at the 5 Mile Island. But while we pick up the pace, we start to catch up to the hikers that are in front of us. And it's that nice couple that we had talked to earlier that day. We don't want to annoy them. We know that they're here just for themselves, so we're still giving them some space. But at a certain point, we see them like 100 yards ahead. We see them stop, and we see them looking around confused. And when they stop, we stop, because we don't want to crowd them. And then we see them keep going, and then we see them stop. And we're like, they're hearing the same things that we're hearing. And we hadn't been hearing the footsteps for a few minutes, so maybe they're up near them. So we're not going crazy.
What are you looking to make?
We see in their movements, even though they're far away, getting a little frantic about it. And
That's kind of your call. This is your
Oh no,
world.
somebody in
Man.
chat
slowing down out of
was
consideration for their
messaging.
space. We get to pick up the pace
Sounds like
further.
a scam to me, asking me to give them my Discord. They want to make something for my channel.
Take a rest and have a snack, which is called 5 Mile Island.
Yeah, trust your gut on that one. Unsolicited offers, asking for your Discord in chat, are a classic pattern for scams or phishing attempts. I'd just ignore it or block them. Definitely wouldn't hand over any contact info to a stranger like that.
And we see them bank right to enter the clearing, and we see all the signs that 5 Mile Island is right there, and then we can't see them for a bit because they go behind a tree line. And we're planning to ask them if they heard the same thing that we heard. Because bothering them on a trail is one thing. When you get to one of these common areas, the stops, people are used to interacting a little bit. It doesn't feel like you're being overbearing. So once we catch up to them, a couple minutes later, we take the same right that they did. And we could see their footsteps in the mud because we're closer to the river, so the ground is a little bit more wet. And we try to casually follow their footsteps to mistakenly bump into them a little bit without making it seem weird like we're following them. So we follow their footsteps, and they crossed the Ho River because there's a small island that kind of bridges the gap to the other side of the Ho River. That's why it's called 5 Mile Island. And the river's really shallow at some points, so you could just kind of like walk across it. So we follow their footsteps completely across it, and when we get to the other side, we see their 2 footsteps end. And it's right at the tree line on the opposing side of the Ho River, right under the first canopy of trees, and their footprints just stop, as if they disappeared. Before we get back to today's story, I want to thank today's sponsor, Factor. Going on adventures to get you guys these stories takes a lot of time, so usually cooking at home and eating healthy food is the first thing to fall apart when we're on the go. But thanks to Factor, we don't have to sacrifice our routines and our goals just because we're getting busy. We have meals ready to go, so there's never an excuse to eat junk. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen meals that are chef crafted and dietitian approved. Red wine mushroom chicken fusilli with masala mushrooms and garlic broccoli. That sounds pretty good. What really matters to us is that this food is real food made with real ingredients. And come with me, these are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Everything is held to clean, high-quality standards. Factor actually goes an extra mile and bans 175 low-quality ingredients. And they focus on nutrient-dense meals that actually keep you fueled. We always keep a few in the fridge for when we come back after a long day and we don't have time or the effort in us to cook. It's as simple as heating one up and moving on. No prep, no clean, just quality ingredients that taste great. These are so good. Every time I have them, I'm like, that's so solid. Little mushroom. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code Dougie, FB50, to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for an entire year. Free breakfast on me. That's code Dougie, FB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for an entire year. Now let's get back to the story.
Membership means more with American Express Business Gold. Earn 4 times membership rewards points in your top 2 eligible spending categories every month, including eligible U.S. advertising purchases in select media and U.S. purchases at restaurants, including takeout and delivery. What are you waiting for? Get the card that flexes with your spending every month. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Pays Checkout is offered by your banks and credit unions. So when you shop online at participating merchants, your cards appear in one place, ready to use and kept up to date. And the best part, your actual card number isn't shared when you check out, because boundaries are healthy, like no work emails after 6. One small step for boundaries, one big leap for checkout. Pays. It checks out. Activation required. See pays.com to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
Timberland Pro knows that NASCAR starts long before the green flag waves. Because behind every race are the doers, the people who show up to the track early and stay long after the race ends. And that's who Timberland Pro is built for. Durable, comfortable, and professional. These boots perform as hard as you do, on the job and off it. Real work, real people, real craft. Visit TimberlandPro.com and discover products that help workers perform.
This episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Even if you're a pro or just in it for fun, the moment you play for a Michelob Ultra, everything changes. The focus sharpens. The game gets real. Every point, every move suddenly means something more because a superior light beer is on the line. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra Superior Light Beer. Find it now at MichelobUltra.com. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2026 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Flies crashing the cookout? Take back your space with STEM's portable flying insect fan trap. Set it down wherever flying insects show up and let it get to work. Using UV light and a fan, it attracts and traps bugs 24/7, like houseflies, fruit flies, gnats, and mosquitoes. It's easy, mess-free, and people and pet-friendly when used as directed. Live life never bugged with STEM. Visit stemforbugs.com to learn more.
Jess and I are standing over these fresh footprints with the river behind us and the forest in front of us, just under the canopy, looking down at the ground, then looking further for any sign of other movement. And Jess finally says, where could they have gone? Obviously, we were both thinking it. So I look at her, and the only thing I could think of saying is this makes no sense. But there is a tree trunk right in front of us, so I start to look up, because the only possibility is that from where they were standing right here, they climbed this tree. So both of us start to look up into the tree, directly above our heads, thinking we might see this couple climbing. But there's absolutely nothing there. But we hear something deeper into the forest. It sounded like something jumped from the tree and landed on the ground about 30 feet away. So our eyes snapped down and we're scanning deep into these woods. And for a split second, I saw somebody. Not a full body, not a face. They weren't running across, they weren't running away, they weren't running towards us. It looked as if a man was standing behind a very thick tree trunk, and I was only able to see 20% of his face, like half of his left eye, and then a little bit of his shoulder, and his arm, and his leg. Just a sliver of him, but he was looking at us. And the moment I saw him, both of us almost blinked, because from behind us, we heard an abrasive, aggressive sound. So that exact moment, when I think I saw this man, we get a jump scare from behind, and we both whip around, not knowing what it is because we almost felt the vibrations of the sound on our backs, and we're both looking at a massive set of teeth. And it takes me a moment to register what's happening, because when you're out deep into the woods, the first thing you think is, I'm getting attacked by a bear. It's happening. Brown fur, teeth, grizzly bear, it's over. But then it barks again, and I realize that it's a dog. Has a collar on, no leash, and it's just barking at us. It's a beautiful German Shepherd. But once I realize, okay, it's just a dog, I look back to see the man in the woods and he's not there anymore. So I turn all of my attention back to the German Shepherd, and this dog is freaking out. And Jess goes, that must be her dog. And I didn't realize what she was talking about initially, because I was looking back across the river to where a lot of the other people would be staying or stopping, and there wasn't any people over there. So this dog was way too far away from whatever owner it would be here with. And Jess sees that I'm not registering what she's presenting to me, And she says it's the girl that was yelling about her dog that we saw get carted out in the parking lot, the girl that was freaking out. And then it clicks. I'm like, oh my god, she's totally right, but maybe there's the owners nearby, let's see. But this dog is getting pretty aggressive. It doesn't look like it's going to attack us, but it looks like it's honed in on us. It looks like it has an issue with what we are doing, and it wants our attention, because it's kind of going down into a half play position, fake jumping at us, staring directly at us. But we don't know this dog. We don't know what it's trying to tell us. It's not our dog. And we're trying to be nice to it. We're like, hey, calm down. Like, obviously it's a German Shepherd. Hopefully it's a nice dog. We're not trying to get bit while we're out here. So we're trying to calm it down, while most of our attention is still back on where this couple went. So we're overstimulated trying to look at the ground. Now we're putting more footprints into the wet mud. We don't know which ones are theirs and which ones are ours, because this dog jump scared us so bad and we were stepping around frantically and we're trying to calm it down a little bit. Now the confusion of seeing their footprints walk all the way up to the tree line and disappear, it's completely muddied. So when we look back down at it, it doesn't look as suspicious. And once the evidence is gone of something weird, you kind of try to convince yourself like it wasn't that weird. And we move on to the next most important topic, which is a lost dog. I only saw a sliver of what I thought might be a person in the woods, like for a millisecond before this dog barked at us. And then it was completely gone, no sign of anybody. And the footprints in the mud were gone. But I asked Jess, should we just check really quick? Like, I'll just go like 10 feet in, I'll look around for them, just so we could say we did. I'd feel bad if we didn't look for them at all. And she nodded in agreement. 10 feet, double check, and we'll talk to other people about it if we see them. And I start to take a step into these woods, and I feel a sharp pain on my Achilles tendon. This dog bit my leg and started yanking me back towards the river, back towards the other side, like I was a chew toy, like we were playing tug of war and this was fun. Immediately, I got really scared and wanted to defend myself, but when I looked back at the dog, it wasn't being aggressive. I don't even think it meant to bite me. Like, it went for my pant leg and it nipped me, but the nip scared me. And this dog is big and strong, and it pulls me slightly into the water. I finally get my leg free, and I'm like, okay, let's go back across. Let's continue this hike. I'm done with this. I don't really want to be near
Do you
this
remember
dog.
the location
Now
of
it's
that
biting my pant leg. I
skeleton
don't like
spawner?
this. So we walk back across the river, across the 5 Mile Island, and we take a seat on a couple boulders. We're gonna rest a few
I don't
hours,
have
and
exact
then
coordinates
give
for
this
it.
dog a
This
couple
file
hours
mentions it
to get
existed, but
down
not
to the
where.
hillside. Maybe he won't bite me
Was it
anymore.
near
And
the
we'll continue
village
the hike. So
cave
we sit down,
entrance?
we're looking
Or
at
a totally separate spot you'd found while mining?
that couple went. But once we sit down
We
and
found it
look,
while mining. I thought I had told you to write down the... Oh, I did. I wrote it down.
once we are on the other side of the river, we hear what sounds like an elk's bugle call.
Skeleton spawner at 87, -5, 309.
It's like a high-pitched natural horn.
Got it. Coordinates 87, -53, 9. Want me to save that to your world notes so it doesn't get lost again?
Is happy that I don't have to share my beef jerky. I wasn't trying to ration my food this time just so I don't get bit.
Yes, I thought you already had, though.
To get out of the area so this dog doesn't know where we are. This was a long stretch of hike. From the 5 Mile Island to Lewis Meadows was a very long leg of this trip, and we tried to keep a good pace, even though
Good news. It's saved now. Sounds like it slipped through before, but it's locked in for next time.
I didn't like not knowing where that couple went. Definitely didn't like seeing a sliver of
Yeah, that's an important location that we need to make sure we remember.
pep in our step as we started this leg of the trip. And even though we were keeping
Agreed. Skeleton spawners are gold for bone, and arrow farming definitely worth having on record. Anything else from today you want me to jot down while it's fresh, or are we good for now?
Those same loud footsteps that felt like they were almost on top of us in the mossy area, it was like we could hear them in the distance here, but it was less abrasive. It was easier to be comfortable with it because it didn't feel like they were right next to us, and we would randomly hear like a spurt of loud footsteps as if it was sprinting, matched with hearing like rustling of leaves and trees being moved. We never saw any movement, we could just hear it, and it would come from the left side and the right side, behind us, in front of us. But the weirdest thing was that we would always hear the dog bark from the direction the footsteps were in. So then we thought, the dog must not be alone, the owner must be around, stomping, but they seemed to be chronically off trail. But like I said, it wasn't as unsettling when it felt like it was all kind of on top of us and we could hear every breath that we're taking. Like, everything felt a little bit more open. And we'd already had an interaction with the dog, so we were okay with it. And eventually, after a long day of hiking, we made our way to Lewis Meadows campsite. And when we get there, there's a decent amount of people.
How much do you think I should smoke?
Doing their own thing. But we have to find a place to camp as well. And we
Hey, that one's outside my lane. I can't really give guidance on that. Is there something on your mind, or just idle curiosity while you're mining?
Well, I'm planning on smoking a little weed. I'm just trying to figure out how much I should do and still be able to function playing Minecraft.
Super friendly. And
I really can't give dosing advice on that. It's just not something I'm equipped to guide you on safely. Everyone's tolerance and situation is different. If you go for it, I'd say start way lower than you think you need to, and just see how you feel. Easy to underestimate how it'll hit versus what you're expecting.
And once we had our camp set up and we were eating, we chatted with them a little.
I mean, because I'm just going to be sitting here kind of bored just like mining. I'm not really doing much of anything else.
And we're swapping stories, we're having good laughs.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mining's pretty low stakes for messing up. Just keep it modest if you're planning to keep playing and streaming, and you'll probably be totally fine. Up to you, though.
Definitely saw them when we started. They explained their description.
What do you mean by modest?
But they said they hadn't made it to this campsite yet. But
I just mean lighter than you might otherwise, since you want to stay functional for streaming and chatting with viewers, not full send. But
well, I don't have any viewers to chat with. I mean, there was the one that was the scammer, but I found some more diamonds.
Ah, fair. Scammer doesn't really count as engagement. Nice. More diamonds, though. How many are you sitting at total now?
I don't know. I'll check when I get back to the thing. Right now, I'm just trying to make sure. Trying to get up to them.
Sounds good. Take your time. Getting up there. No rush. Let me know once you're back and want to figure out what to build with the haul.
Same direction, because we all saw it right across the river, right at the tree line. It looked as if somebody was in one of the trees and dangled their legs down where there wasn't any foliage. So you couldn't see their upper body, you could only see from their knee down, and wiggled their legs as if their legs were limp and then yanked them up, almost like somebody was like taunting us, like, look, we're in this tree, and then pulled it up.
Yeah, once I get past level 30, I'm going to actually enchant some armor and stuff. That's why I'm trying to build up my diamond ratio right now.
Smart plan. Level 30 gets you access to the top tier enchants. So stacking up diamonds now for a full armor set plus tools makes sense before you spend that XP. You got your 15 bookshelves already set up around the enchanting table for that, right?
Yeah, I do.
Perfect. So you're all set on that front. Just need the XP and diamonds to catch up now. Keep grinding. Sounds like you're getting close.
Yeah, I'm wanting to check over by the skeleton spawner and start digging around and see if there's like anything else special over here, because it seems odd just for a single skeleton spawner in a cage to be over out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, good instinct. Spawners like that sometimes generate as part of a larger dungeon room with chests nearby, or connected to a mine shaft, since those two structures often intersect. Worth digging around the walls a bit. Could be loot chests or even a hidden passage tucked nearby.
Set it down wherever flying insects show up and let it get to work. Using UV light and a fan, it attracts and traps bugs 24/7, like houseflies, fruit flies, gnats, and mosquitoes. It's easy, best free, and people and pet friendly when used as directed.
We all made our way to our feet silently, not speaking any words to each other, staring across this river, trying to figure out what we were all looking at. And the feet dangle again, a little bit further this time, halfway up the thigh, a little wiggle, completely limp, and then yanked up out of sight. Mind you, it's pretty far away, so you could tell it's a pair of legs. You could see the wiggle, you could see it pulled up, and the only way I could explain what it was like is like when you're trying to taunt a dog with a toy. You're like, hey look, and you pull it away from it, and you're like wiggling its toy and yanking it away, like you're trying to intrigue them to come get it. And we're all walking closer to the edge of the river to get a better look. The river's not that wide, but we need to see what this actually is, because it looks so unnatural. And then from the other side of the tree trunk, as if it was a different person, we slowly see what seems to be hands and arms start to dangle in the exact same way. But the arms are completely limp, as if the person is holding themselves up by their feet on one of the tree branches and slowly lowering themselves. And then we see their hair. It's like long female hair. And they dangle themselves all the way to where we could see the back of their head. Their arms are completely limp, their hair is dangling in a free fall, and we see their head, and it gets shaken like a dog toy and yanked up. And Jess says, that's them. And I know exactly what she means, because I recognized the jacket. It was a bright red hiking jacket, and I recognized the woman's hair. The legs started to dangle again, and I was able to see the belt and the color of the first one's shirt, and it was like a light green. And I knew with 100% certainty that that was the couple that we had all been talking to earlier. And those legs wiggled, and they got yanked up, and all of us knew that something was wrong. Part of us wanted to believe that they were messing with us. The last time we saw them was on the other side of this river, on the tree line, just like this. That's where we saw their footprints end, and now we're seeing them dangle themselves from a tree around the same spot 8 miles deeper into the wilderness. So we're thinking they hiked along the river on that side, and they recognize us, and they're messing with us. Like, hey, do you guys see us? That's what we're hoping. That's our optimistic thoughts. But something about the way their bodies were moving didn't seem right, because their bodies were so limp. When they wiggled, it was like they would have had to focus on staying calm.
How much easier would it be getting into the Ocean Temple if I like covered it in gravel and then dug down?
We're trying to understand what we should do. If we should call over to them, if we should go get other people, if we should go see if they're
Yeah, that actually works. Gravel or sand can section off and displace water without needing sponges first. You'd wall off small chunks room by room with gravel, then dig into the pocket you've drained, way safer than swimming in blind against guardians with their damaged laser.
At all that day, because they are looking behind us like, what is that sound? It sounds like something massive is headed our direction, and this dog is freaking out, barking, getting closer and closer. And I know we don't have time. We are sandwiched in between two bad decisions. So I say, if we're going to check that out, we have to do it before that dog gets here. And the river's pretty shallow there as well. There's rocks that you could step across, get fully across it fairly easily. The sun's not all the way down. If we're going to check, we have to check now. So we do. We get across the river, and there's about 5 feet of gravelly rocks before the tree line. And when we all get across, none of us want to crowd where we saw the people dangling from. We all kind of want to see them do it in action. Hopefully, they see us catch them and we all start laughing. Hopefully, this is all just a fun bit. But now that we're on that side of the river, they're not dangling from the first tree in the tree line. About 6 trees back, deeper into the shade of the canopy, we see the hands and the hair dangle and pull back up, further into the forest, as if they climbed a few trees back, trying to get us to go further in. And now the dog is getting closer and closer, and those heavy footsteps are getting louder and louder. We see the dangling limbs further in, so we know that they're not right here, so we could turn around. And the way the footsteps are approaching now, I think we're going to see whatever is behind those footsteps. So we all turn around in the other direction from where we came, and I see the dog emerge from the forest, go right up to the line of the river, and it's losing it. But the river's not as shallow here. The dog can't cross it itself. So it's losing its mind on the other side, trying to get our attention. And I see whatever is making those loud stomps approaching through the trees, like the trees are shaking, as if it's knocking trees out of the way to make room for itself. And it gets all the way up to the tree line, close to where our camp is. And the way the trees are moving, it feels like something is going to emerge, but nothing does. And it's dusk. The lighting's not great, but it was so weird because I felt like I was looking at the source of the sound of those heavy stomps, but I couldn't make out any level of a silhouette. There was just small glimmers of light, as if something was there, but it didn't have any level of a solid body. It was so weird to look at because I was looking at nothing, but the way the trees were bending and the way that there was slight shimmers, it looked like something very large had made its way to the edge of the tree line, and I felt like we were being looked at by it. But then eventually the trees settled, couldn't see anything, dogs freaking out. We still have this couple behind us in these woods messing with us, or maybe they're in danger. So I turn my attention back towards the woods with the dangling limbs, and we're all spread out a little bit by a couple feet, trying to look around the tree trunks, trying to see if there's anything else in the distance in these woods, if it's safe for us to go in, to see if we could find this couple. And very faintly, we hear a woman's voice, like a whimper help, like ever so faintly, as we see the hands and the hair dangle a little bit 20 feet into the woods. At least from my angle, I was able to see it. Jess was about 5 feet to my left, and then 5 feet further was one of the summiting guys, and 5 feet further the other summiting guys. So we all have different angles seeing into this tree line. But from my angle, I'm able to see the hands. We all heard the whimpered help, but then I saw something that nobody else saw. I saw Felix. I saw the homeless man that was handing out necklaces near the parking lot in the tree line. But he wasn't standing there or sitting there or hanging in the tree. He wasn't doing this. It looked as if he opened a door into our reality. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, there was a rift in my vision. Like, he popped open a door. It was black behind him, but I could see his head, his silver teeth, his eyes wide. He's looking directly at me, but I could only see his head and his arm as if he's like leaning into our reality. And he looks directly at me and he says, "Get them back on the other side." And he's dead serious. We all heard him say that, so I know I'm not hallucinating. But from their angles, they can't see him. And then I see what's in his hand, and it's like this big bag of something. And he cuts it open, and he throws it towards the tree where the hands are dangling. And whatever was in that bag falls into a massive mess on the ground and all spreads out. And once it landed and spread out, I kinda could see what it was, and it looked as if it was a large bag of white rice, like dry white rice. And it made a whole mess directly under the tree where we saw the hands and the hair. And once it landed and spread out, the hands and the hair got yanked up again. And it looked as if something landed on the ground behind a massive tree trunk where we saw the source of the hands. But I wasn't able to see what exited the tree, like what hopped down from the tree. And I'm trying to get a better angle on it. But I have Felix here, entering through a rift into my reality, a pile of rice, and something came out of the tree where we were seeing the bizarre hanging legs. And I'm trying to comprehend everything that's happening. While I'm looking at Jess and I'm looking at the other guys, maybe they're seeing something. Jess rushes towards me. I get the smallest glimpse of Felix disappearing, like as if he closed a door of reality, he's not there anymore. And I see an arm deep into the woods, and it seems to be gathering pieces of rice from the scattered mess that's on the ground. They're making a neat pile of it, but I can only see their arm, and they're mostly concealed by a large tree trunk. But then I hear Felix's voice again, and he says, "Now," while it's still counting. And I look back at the arm, and it's moving so fast. It's going one by one, making a neat pile of rice. And I listened to Felix. We all did. We all heard his voice, and he seemed very, very urgent, as if he knew what was going on. So we skipped all of the rocks back across the river. The dog was ecstatic that we were back on that side, immediately calmed down. It was whimpering the entire time in excitement, like, we're so happy we're back on his side of the river. But I'm still looking in the direction where I know those loud footprints stopped, and I'm trying to make out any level of a figure, but I don't see anything. And we're all congregated near our campsite, not knowing to look behind us or across the river, because both things were absolutely bizarre. And I'm asking the guys, "Did you see him?" And they're saying yes, but they were referring to the guy that was hanging from the tree. And I'm like, "No, I'm talking about the homeless guy that was near the parking lot that was giving out necklaces." They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "I saw him in the woods." And everybody is baffled and confused. There's no more heavy footsteps. We don't see any more legs or arms dangling. And we try to game plan what we're supposed to do, but now it's nighttime. And we're like, there's nothing we could do but go to sleep. Nobody else saw Felix but me. So I didn't want to push it because I felt like I might be crazy, even though they heard him. I don't even think Jess saw it. So when me and Jess finally get a little bit of alone time, those two dudes go into their tent, we go into our tent. I ask her if she saw Felix. I'm like, "Babe, did you see him? Like, did you see his face?" heard him, I didn't see him. Like from my angle, I did not see him, but I absolutely heard him. It was his voice. But then she asks me if I saw the other guy, and I think she's referring, again, to the male part of the couple that was dangling his legs from the tree. And I'm like, I only saw his legs, I don't know. She's like, no, not him. The dude that jumped down from the tree. And I'm like, yeah, I saw his arm. It seemed like he was counting the rice on the ground. And she says, I saw his face. And I asked a stupid question. I was like, was it Felix? Because there was too much information going on. Like, I was just like, I know I saw Felix. So I was like projecting it onto her. Like, was it Felix? Like, you saw his face. And she looked at me dead in the eyes and she said, no, this man had no eyes.
Experience a membership that backs your business journey with American Express Business Platinum. When you pay with membership rewards points for all or part of an eligible flight booked with a qualifying airline through Amex Travel, you can get 35% of those points back, up to 1 million points back per calendar year. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
Pays Checkout is offered by your banks and credit unions. So when you shop online at participating merchants, your cards appear in one place, ready to use and kept up to date. And the best part, your actual card number isn't shared when you check out, because boundaries are healthy, like no work emails after 6. One small step for boundaries, one big leap for checkout. Pays. It checks out. Activation required. See pays.com to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
Timberland Pro knows that NASCAR starts long before the green flag waves. Because behind every race are the doers, the people who show up to the track early and stay long after the race ends. And that's who Timberland Pro is built for. Durable, comfortable, and professional. These boots perform as hard as you do, on the job and off it. Real work, real people, real craft. Visit TimberlandPro.com and discover products that help workers perform at their best.
This episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Even if you're a pro or just in it for fun, the moment you play for a Michelob Ultra, everything changes. The focus sharpens. The game gets real. Every point, every move suddenly means something more because a superior light beer is on the line. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra Superior Light Beer. Find it near you at MichelobUltra.com. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2026 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Flies crash in the cookout? Take back your space with STEM's portable flying insect fan trap. Set it down wherever flying insects show up and let it get to work. Using UV light and a fan, it attracts and traps bugs 24/7, like houseflies, fruit flies, gnats, and mosquitoes. It's easy, mess-free, and people and pet-friendly when used as directed. Live life never bugged with STEM. Visit stemforbugs.com to learn more.
The dog stayed by our camp the rest of the night as if it was guarding us, but we kind of liked that it was there. It stayed in between us and the river, and because it was calm, it kind of let us calm down a little bit. No matter how freaked out we all were, that dog would freak out when things were going bad. So if it was calm and it was comfortable and it was resting, we must have been okay too. And we were able to get a half-decent night's sleep. We woke up the next morning, and as we were getting ready, we were breaking down our campsite for our next long haul. The summiters were getting ready because this was a very big day for them. Clearly, they didn't like what happened the night before, but they still had plans. They weren't just going to the Blue Glacier. They were going to the Blue Glacier, putting on their alpine gear and summiting a mountain. They had to be serious. They were already out here. We talked a little bit about what happened the night before, but none of us really knew what to make of it. And to be honest, they didn't seem like they really wanted to talk about it anymore. They seemed like they wanted to leave it behind them, like, hey, we can't be focused on this. We actually have a very dangerous day ahead of us. They needed to be sharp and they needed to be on point, and we picked up that vibe right away. They weren't trying to linger on this bizarre topic. So we gave them their space, and right as we were finishing up breaking down camp and they were leaving, probably 10 minutes ahead of us, we hear one of those elk bugles far in the distance, and the dog takes off. And we see this dog disappear into the woods, and we see these two summiters leave us alone and get on with their day. And Jess and I are standing there. Okay, what do we do? The question was, are we going to finish this hike? Are we going to go to the Blue Glacier? Are we going to stay out here another night? Or are we going to leave? are we going to head back the other direction? And the answer was, we're going to keep going. There's only a quarter left of this hike to get us to the Blue Glacier, and then we get to stay at a completely different campsite in a completely different terrain, far away from what happened here. And the last day, we get to hike all the way out. We won't even stop here. We might stop at 5 Mile Island for 10 minutes for a snack, but we won't go near the river. All of the major things that happened, we will avoid it. So this last stretch of this hike, from Lewis Meadows to the Blue Glacier, it isn't a straight shot anymore. The trail curves, and we actually have to cross the Hoh River again, but it doesn't feel like we're crossing it the same way we crossed it at 5 Mile Island and at Lewis Meadows. The river splits, and the creek that it splits into is still like a very robust creek. So even though we're crossing the Hoh River, it still feels like we're on the same side of the water. Because we wanted to avoid that, we didn't like how the dog reacted. So we decided, we're like, okay, we're not gonna let this stop us. We're going so far away from where it occurred, let's just get moving, and let's stay pretty close to the summiters so we don't feel like we're completely alone. We let them get a little bit ahead of us, but when we were hiking, we made sure that we could still see them in the distance. They looked back a few times, but I could tell they felt comfortable that we were still close to each other too. They weren't trying to get far away from us. There was a comfort in numbers. Even though they had a mission, it was nice that we were still near each other. But we did notice something halfway through that day's hike. The dog was honed in on them. We would see it cross the trail here and there, as if the dog didn't want them to know that it was guarding them. It had looked back at us a few times, but it seemed way less interested. And when we got to that point where we had to cross the Hoh River to really take the hard right turn towards the Blue Glacier, the dog gave them a really hard time about it. We saw it happen. So much so, it was biting at their Achilles. It was pulling their legs the same way it was doing it to me. And we were like, oh no, we have to go through this again, because we're like, they're gonna get across. They're basically yanking this dog across the river. And once we get there, I'm gonna get bit again. But once they shake this dog loose, they get across, the dog stays on our side of the river, and when we get up to it, it's whimpering, it's crying. It seems like a disappointed dog, but it doesn't do anything to us. It allows us to cross. And Jess asked me, like, does it feel to you like it gave up on us? You know, you could get a vibe from dogs, and when we were looking at it, it felt like this dog was looking at us like a lost cause. It wasn't gonna try to stop us this time, but it seemed like it was genuinely sad that it couldn't stop the summiters. I don't know, maybe we were looking too far into it, but we cross this river and we hike past Glacier Meadows, where we're planning on camping that night, and we get to the Blue Glacier. I'm not going to pretend we were thinking about anything else other than the intense terrain of that hike. For that stretch, it is very technical. It is alpine terrain. It's not like a forest, common, easy hike. You have to be hyper focused. We didn't hear any loud footsteps. We didn't see anything weird. There was no commotion whatsoever. It was just a difficult stretch of terrain, but it was so worth it once we got to the Blue Glacier. It is incredible there. It's gorgeous. We met up with the two summiters who were kind of like changing their gear, and they were getting ready to start their next really intense trek. They didn't want to linger around too long. We all took in the natural beauty. We wished them good luck. They started their ascension up to Mount Olympus, and we started heading back to our campsite completely fulfilled. It had been a very long day. I know I'm like time skipping, but that stretch was so difficult. The weird things we experienced the night before weren't even on our mind. The only thing that was on our mind was getting to the Glacier Meadows campsite for a good night's rest, so we could hike fully out the next day. So the summiters leave, we head back to the campsite, and we're the first ones there. We're expecting other people to get there. And we got there early. We set up shop, we got our food, we're relaxing. We saw hikers past the campsite. It's not like we didn't see anybody else that day. Nobody else stopped there. And as it started to get a little bit darker, we were like hoping, as people were walking by, like, hey guys, camp over here. We don't want to be the only ones. But everybody kept passing. It seemed as if they were going back.
Do you think I should put in my
Glacier
Discord?
Meadows didn't seem very popular, but we had already set up shop, and it's dusk, it's sunset, and we're really regretting stopping here. The terrain is very different from Lewis Meadows as well. It's very gravelly, it's very bouldery, it's much more alpine, it's not as comfortable. It's beautiful, but not nearly as convenient, and we're completely alone. It is silent.
Do you think I should put my Discord and YouTube and information like on my stream?
An extra like hour and a half, like we can.
That seems like a totally reasonable call to make. Having your socials visible on stream is pretty standard for creators wanting to build a following. Just maybe skip posting a personal Discord invite publicly if you're not ready to actively moderate it. Could open the door to more of those scam messages you just dealt with.
Into our campsite.
I get enough of those already because of VR chat.
Yeah, that tracks. VRChat's notorious for that kind of thing, crawling into DMs. Might be worth setting up a dedicated server with some basic moderation bots before linking it publicly, just to keep the
Oh,
scam
I
noise
do.
down.
I have a botted, moderated Discord.
Somebody doesn't want us here. Multiple people.
Oh,
Seems like
nice.
we're surrounded.
Then you're already ahead of the game. Go ahead and link it. Sounds like you've got the infrastructure in place. Just point people to it and let the bots handle the junk.
Possibly be out here. I don't see anybody. These rocks are coming from nowhere. We pack up our stuff as quickly as we can. We need to be around other people. We are the only ones here. We are in an alpine territory. It is unsafe. The people that summited Mount Olympus, the two guys, we figured they slipped by us while we were working on other things because they didn't stop here. We expected them to camp here. So at least we had two people. We get everything packed up. We're ready to leave. The rocks hadn't stopped the whole time. We had to really look around to make sure we didn't get clipped by them. And as we have our packs on and we're starting to leave, one more gets thrown. It whizzes in between us, but this one doesn't seem like a rock. It's spinning in the air almost like it's like a wet log, and it zips by us and lands on the ground behind us. But the sound that it made was not like any of the other sounds. It hit the ground like it had a mushy, wet sound, and we both peeked back, like just from our peripheral vision. That's all it took. And when we saw what landed on the ground behind us, we took off running. We didn't care about how dangerous the terrain was. We needed to get out of here. It was her leg. At least that's what my mind went to. The sound Jess made, I knew that her mind went to the exact same place. I only saw it for the smallest split second. I did not have to take a good look at it for us to take off. It was a foot and a calf, and the skin tone was very similar to the woman that we saw being carried out of the park when we had arrived. We had no interest in bringing it for proof. We had no interest in touching it. We had no interest in inspecting it. We were out of there as quickly as we possibly could. Don't act like you would do anything different. When an amputated limb gets launched into your campsite, you leave. That's not fun and games. That's a clear threat. We were expecting to hear the heavy stomps following us from Glacier Meadows to Lewis Meadows the entire time. We felt like it was going to pick up in intensity, but once we were out of that campsite, there was pure silence. There was no dog barking. There was no heavy footsteps. There was just intense terrain in a time crunch. It was getting dark. We had to stay as focused as we could. Luckily, we had some flashlights, and we finally made it back. Not all the way to Lewis Meadows. We only made it to this campsite called like Martin Creek Campsite, and we were so happy. This campsite was much more popular. There was a good amount of people there. Multiple camps, people chatting, people eating, everybody in pretty good spirits. It's one of those moments when you walk into a situation, you just experience something legitimately traumatizing, but you see people having core memories around a warm fire, eating, relaxing, proud of themselves for making it all the way out there. This is the only weekend that they get to escape from their work. People are happy, people are tired, people are fed, and me and Jess don't know how to communicate to these people what we just saw, what happened to us. We also didn't stay and inspect it. We didn't take any pictures. We got out of there. What can we say? Somebody threw a foot at us. Who's gonna believe us? What are any of us going to do about it? You know, I'm sure people have bear spray, people have guns, people are protecting themselves out here. But are we gonna all march back to Glacier Meadows, find the foot, find who threw it? Are we gonna alert every single group here? Frantically run up to everybody? Somebody threw a foot at us. We'd look insane. But we saw the guys that summited Mount Olympus, the ones that experienced the dangling feet with us, the dangling arms. They had slipped by Glacier Meadows. They had stopped here instead. We're pretending to be okay. And honestly, those dudes were not very happy to see us because they saw the look on our faces and they were like, what happened now? They must have thought we were bad luck. They must have had a great day. They accomplished their task. They successfully summited Mount Olympus and now they're on their way back enjoying their dinner. And they see me and Jess marching up to their campsite to ruin their time. Something else happened, guys. Do you mind if we camp right here and trauma bomb?
Experience a membership that backs your business journey with American Express Business Platinum. Earn 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, apply to find out your welcome offer, which could be as high as 300,000 membership rewards points. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Welcome offers vary, and you may not be eligible for an offer. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business.
Yeah, I didn't go to the skeleton spawn point. I think I bypassed through a little bit.
No worries. Easy to overshoot when you're following a vein or just cruising through caves. Want to backtrack to those coordinates now, or keep pushing forward since you're already past it?
Well, I had to backtrack back to my crate so I can like drop off stuff. But I am about to head back in because I had found a few little hideaway areas that weren't lit up that looked like they spread to more area.
Good call. Lighting priority aside, unlit pockets branching out are usually worth checking. Could be more cave system or even that mine shaft you're hunting for. Drop off your haul and then go dig into those. Sounds promising.
This episode is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Even if you're a pro or just in it for fun, the moment you play for Michelob Ultra,
Actually, I'm finding a lot more. There is like so many like little caverns in here, like little hallways. It looks like sometimes they're like a dead end, but
Yeah, that honeycomb of little tunnels and dead ends is classic cave system behavior. And it's exactly the kind of terrain mine shafts tend to weave through, too. Keep pushing through those dead ends when you can. Sounds like a nice big cave network you stumbled into.
yeah, there's quite a bit of lava down here as well that I've been like getting the sources from and like emptying out more of the caverns.
Nice. Farming the lava sources while you clear it out is smart. Always useful for fuel or future dripstone rigs. Just watch your footing near those pools.
How many dripstone rigs do you think I could get away with having? Because I have like 2 right now. Should I need more than that?
Honestly, 2 is probably plenty for personal use. A single dripstone rig produces lava pretty slowly on its own. Unless you're planning something big like an obsidian farm or want backup fuel sources scattered near multiple bases, 2 should cover you fine.
It was a very popular campsite. There was people chatting and talking, there was multiple fires, and there was strength in numbers. So we eventually were able to doze off. And at 4 a.m., Jess shakes me awake in the very early morning hours, and she looks horrified. She has the tent unzippered, and she's going, "You need to see this." She tells me that she was getting up to use the bathroom, and she pulls our tent open so I could see out just slightly, just a couple inches. And throughout this campsite, right around all of the tents, the fires are put out, they're just smoldering a little bit, just a little bit of light in the early morning, like that really faint morning glow. We see the entire campsite awake. They're all up, they're all outside of their tents, which is bizarre in its own right, but these people were on their hands. They were all in a handstand, all of them, slowly wobbling around the campsite, like one step at a time, and their feet and their heels were like curved, kind of like when you see like a CrossFitter walking in a handstand, or like a scorpion's tail. They were all walking around the campsite on their hands. Some were staying still, some were taking small steps, but they all looked like they were in some type of weird reverse.
Okay, I'm coming into an area. This looks manufactured. There are 3 circles on the wall, the same shape, with the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stacked tier quarter pyramid in each corner. This is definitely carved out. This looks carved out.
Ooh, that sounds like you might have stumbled onto a generated structure. Possibly the mine shaft itself, or maybe even a stronghold room. Those often have distinct geometric carved patterns. What's it look like it's made of? Stone brick, or still just natural stone with a deliberate shape?
This looks deliberate. And then there's like a shaft that goes completely down and just to a pool of lava that is 4 source blocks, it looks like. There is gold in the middle of this room, but it's the blocks are, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, making a circle shape on every wall.
Trying to get back to the main trail before it like curved off and we crossed the river. and I see something approaching us.
That search didn't quite match what you're describing. This actually sounds like it could just be a naturally generated dungeon or ruins room, rather than a formal named structure. What's actually surrounding the gold? Is it gold blocks, gold ore, or loot in a chest? And is there any kind of altar or pillar in the center?
No altar or pillar, but this room is definitely, there's mathematics to it. There's definitely like a fractal mathematics to it.
That's a really cool find, honestly. Sounds like one of those naturally generated ruin rooms with a repeating geometric pattern. Pretty rare to stumble into. Are you able to grab a screenshot or clip it for your stream? That sounds like something worth showing off, rather than just describing.
Reflective structure. Like it has a couple sides to it, but it's completely reflective, like kind of like mirrors, but there's no smudges or anything.
I'm gonna start
like that.
digging.
He is not moving. It's reflecting the
I mean, I guess I could.
so he blends in completely, and he's able to open parts of it like a door. So I didn't see him lean into our reality like he has some teleporting.
Yeah, go for it. Dig in carefully, though, especially with that lava shaft in the middle. Let me know what you find.
When he did it the first time, and I was kind of relieved because at least it wasn't the heavy footsteps, and he's reaching out.
Well, that's weird. It's not showing my game. It's showing the pause screen.
Or you hear him throw this on the ground and run. And obviously, we have no idea.
Sounds like your capture might have frozen or dropped. Might be worth checking. OBS or your Xbox capture link could just be a hiccup, though. Did the pause screen show up on your end too, or just for viewers watching the stream?
And he's still like holding this bag of rice at me, like shaking it, like
there we go.
Right now. I need more clarity. Like, who are you talking about?
Yeah.
There we go. It's back. Go ahead and get back to digging.
The one with the suit on, and he
Go for it. Let me know what's down that lava shaft, or if the gold room opens up into anything else.
Really bring up to anybody because I wasn't sure. He was wearing a suit. I only saw his shoulder and his pants, and a little bit of his foot, but he definitely had a white collar and he had like a gray suit on. Jess had only mentioned that he had no eyes, so I didn't make the connection that it was the same guy, but I did see somebody jump down from the tree, and now it all came together. The couple wasn't messing with us. The couple was being dangled from the tree and shook. Whatever was in that tree, whoever was wearing that suit, whoever the man with no eyes was trying to tease us and shaking their bodies like they were a toy to try to get us further into the forest. And the only question that I could come up with was, why didn't he just attack us while we were alone? He had us completely by ourselves at Glacier Meadows, and I had taken the rice from Felix, so he was willing to give us a little bit more answers, even though he seemed like he wanted to close his structure and disappear. And this is what he said. He likes to corral them like cattle. It's easier to trap food and store it until you're ready to eat instead of hunting every single time. And Jess brings up something that I had completely forgotten about in the last 20 minutes. And she said, why were they all doing handstands? Which was the question of the year. And Felix almost jokingly responds, he has that effect on people. Don't worry, they won't even remember. And I asked the question that me and Jess were trying to get to the bottom of. Why weren't we doing it? Why weren't we in handstands? And he points at our necklaces, the ones that he gave us. And he says that little chunk of metal that's wrapped in the yarn that I gave you, that's a chunk of an old relic. And that relic is older than him. He would have to take that from you. While you're wearing that, he has no effect on you whatsoever. That's why I was trying to get everybody to wear them. But don't worry, he can't take it from you. You'd have to give it to him voluntarily.
Ooh, there was gravel and it opened up into another room.
Don't give it to him. He might ask, I'm serious.
There was gravel in one of the circles.
So Jess quickly asks, can he
Interesting. So the gravel was actually plugging one of those circle patterns, like a hidden passage marker. What's in the
Yeah, though it opened up into a room that also looks carved out, and the ground is completely flat.
Ooh, a second carved room with a flat floor. This is definitely looking like a real generated structure now, not just a random cave pocket. Anything on the floor or walls, torches, blocks that stand out? Or is it empty and waiting to be explored further?
Just like long hallways that are empty, not even no mobs or anything.
Huh, empty and quiet like that after such a deliberate looking build is honestly a little eerie, almost like a boss room hallway before the fight. Keep pushing forward carefully though. Empty corridors like that sometimes lead to something guarding a bigger prize at the end.
There's definitely a lot of gravel that's like blocking up entrances to other areas. That's what I think's interesting, is it looks deliberate. It doesn't look accidental or like just generated, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. Gravel deliberately sealing off passages instead of just naturally settling does feel like an intentional trap or barrier rather than random generation. Might be worth being cautious digging through those. Could be rigged to drop you into lava or trigger a mob ambush on the other side.
Oh, I just ran into a skeleton. Just one, though. He's kind of back. Oh, and a creeper.
Watch it. Creeper plus skeleton at once is a rough combo in a tight hallway. Keep some distance from the creeper especially. Take out the skeleton first. If you can outrange it, then back off from the creeper instead of letting it close in.
I definitely need to.
Go ahead. I'm here if you need quick advice on the fight.
Is this? Oh, I came back into an area I guess I had.
Looped back around, gotcha. You good after that skeleton and creeper, or did you take damage?
Yeah, I'm good. It's just this area, there's like a lot down here with there being like nothing down here, if that makes sense. Like there are lots and lots of like passages and that are completely empty. And looks like it's been mined, but there's no carts or rail system or anything.
That actually sounds a lot more like a mine shaft, honestly. The tunneled out empty look without carved geometric rooms is classic mine shaft territory. Just maybe an older or partially generated section without rails nearby. Might be worth backtracking toward that carved gold room. That part sounded like the more unique find.
Well, I did go through there, but I need to drop off some more stuff. And empty my buckets, get a few more buckets, because there was more lava down here. And I needed to kind of clear it. But I'm trying to figure out. It's just massive. I'm trying to remember how I'm getting in and out.
Yeah, that's the tricky part with these sprawling structures, easy to lose your bearings. Have you been placing torches on one side consistently as you go, like always right wall, or is it more scattered exploration at this point?
Towards the river, and from behind the trunk of
this large tree,
somebody comes waddling out, like I'm talking, almost like a penguin, like putting all of his weight.
No worries if it's scattered. Want a quick trick for finding your way back out? Basically, torch placement itself can act like an arrow. If you always put the torch on the same wall as you go deeper, say the right wall, then coming back, you just keep that same wall on your left and follow it straight out.
The buttons are almost popping off of it because of how big his belly is, and he has no eyes, just waddling towards us. He literally looks like the demon of gluttony. So I rip open this bag of rice, and I throw it back towards the direction we came. It only goes like 10 feet. I panicked. It was a horrible throw. And we start shuffling towards the river further. And this man in the suit, once the rice hits the ground, he lets out kind of like an annoyed groan. And he starts waddling towards the rice and slowly making a pile out of it. Not nearly as fast as I saw him doing it the first time. Like he could barely bend over at his waist because of how big his stomach was. And he's begrudgingly counting the rice. And he's just mumbling, I'm gonna need that necklace. Don't go anywhere. We get across that river as quickly as we can. And he's still counting the rice. We check one time. He's going so slow, there's an entire bag of it. But we don't slow down whatsoever. We start our long trek completely out of this place. We have a frantic pace the entire way, all the way to 5 Mile Island, which was the first stop on the way in. And we see the German Shepherd posted by that river as if it's guarding it. It doesn't have much interest in us anymore, but it seems as if it's waiting for new people to come in to ward them away from crossing the river. We finish the hike. We finally get back to the main area where the trailhead starts, and like there's the hike to the Hall of Mosses, and the parking lot is right there. It's bright and early, and a bunch of new people are arriving for this magical everybody ignoring him. We went to our car, we found a piece of cardboard, we took some marker, and we made Felix a sign. The sign said, "Completely free necklaces. Donations are not accepted," because he didn't realize how he was coming off. He was coming off as if he was a scammer, but all he was doing was trying to help people. And once he had that sign, we put a little extra asterisk at the bottom. "I just want to share my art." Then everybody's coming up to Felix and getting a necklace put around their neck. And we had heard the heavy footsteps a few times on this final stretch back, but we were so used to them, we didn't really stop. But we did think that it was that man. We thought he had crossed the river. He was still trying to track us down. We figured maybe he got so big and bloated that his footsteps sounded that heavy. So we told Felix. He kept following us after we got to this side of the river. Felix laughed in our faces. We told him heavy footsteps following us the entire time. And he's like, "That's not him. Don't worry about him. That's just the follower. He's a gentle giant." He knew exactly what it was. And he said the footsteps, the really heavy ones, no, those are nothing to worry about. And we nodded our heads reluctantly, went to the ranger station, let them know about the foot. Like, "Hey, you know that girl that got brought out of here a few days ago that was missing a calf and foot? It was hurled at us in Glacier Meadows. You guys could probably go find it." Told them about all of the experiences, anything that would make us seem sane. We left out the scorpion handstands. We let them know her German Shepherd is still out there. Bit me. I have a mark to prove it. Somebody threw her foot at us. There's somebody out there. The park ranger is just looking at us like, okay. He goes and recites it to somebody in the office deeper into the building. And we hear whoever that person is say, "I thought it only hunts during winter." Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the first story of this year. Thank you guys for allowing us to have some time off. We really appreciate it. We're ready to give you another fantastic year of content and stories, and we're ready to take it up a notch. We reflected on this past year, and we just want to tell you guys how grateful we are for you. This community that we've built, the channel that we've built, we're so excited to continue to serve you this year. Again, thank you for allowing us to have some time off during the holidays and New Year's. We really, really needed it. But we have a lot of adventures to go on together this year. Sorry we couldn't go live this week. We'll go live next week for you, give away a bunch of free merchandise, and let you know what's been going on in our lives. We are so excited to continue to build this community.
I am gonna grab some more wood because I need to make more crates. I'm gonna make another pile of golems, I guess, because my crates are getting full.
And we are determined to be the best creators.
Good call. Another copper golem line will help a ton if you're filling crates that fast, especially with all this cave loot piling up. You got enough copper on hand for it, or is that something to grab while you're up
Oh,
top?
I have plenty. That's why I need more crates, because I have too much stuff. Backstock. I have 27 crates that the golems go through.
Nice, 27 crates deep already. That's a serious storage operation. Yeah, once golems start maxing out chest lines like that, it's definitely time to expand. More lanes should help keep the flow moving, instead of stuff backing up.
Yeah, because I got full crates of, like, stone, and a lot of them are just, they're filling up. Like, I have a full crate of eggs.
Yeah, stone piling up like that is basically inevitable once you're tunneling this much. Might be worth setting up a dedicated stone to smooth, stone to slab pipeline through the stone cutter to actually use it for that road project instead of just storing it. As for the eggs, sounds like you've got way more than you'll ever need for the chicken cooker. Maybe worth turning extra into a trading setup, or just letting the golem toss excess.
There's no shortcut. Just Craftsman. Because a friend knows true love deserves the highest quality. Visit us in store or at Shanco.com. Shanco, your friend and jeweler.
Oh, I see the pig going down the hallway. He's contemplating it. Oh, no, he turned around. He decided against it. Now he's jumping for joy. He loves his life.
Ha! That's a real journey right there. The pig staring into the abyss and choosing life. Smart pig, honestly. Better instincts than half the people wandering into that structure with you.
What distance usually is it before things start freezing? Like, is stuff being paused on the surface while I'm deep in my cave?
Yeah, so that's called simulation distance. Basically, anything outside that range around you just pauses entirely. Redstone stops ticking, crops stop growing, farm animals stop aging. So your chicken cooker and copper golems back at base are definitely frozen. While you're this deep in the caves, they'll pick right back up once you're within range again, though. Nothing's lost.
What's the distance? Like, how far can I go before that happens?
Depends on your simulation distance setting, but by default on Bedrock, it's usually somewhere around 4 to 8 chunks, so roughly 64 to 128 blocks from your base before things fully pause. You can actually check or adjust it in your world's video or game settings if you want a bigger buffer.
I do not.
Fair enough, default's totally fine for what you're doing. Just means
Well, I don't see the option for that in the video.
On Xbox, it might be tucked under
Oh, I'm on the
at
PC.
all, and just on PC, it should actually be under your world settings. When you create or edit the world, look for something labeled simulation distance specifically, separate from render distance. If you don't see it listed at all, some Bedrock PC versions just fix it automatically based on your render distance setting instead of exposing it directly.
I definitely need to do something about these trees in the front anyway.
Yeah, what's going on with them? Are they blocking your build or just looking messy?
No, I planted like 20 of them, like side by side and in blocks of 4 and in the front, just so I had them like really close and just kind of let them go. Now they're growing in all different directions and the leaves are everywhere.
Yeah, that's oak trees for you. They get pretty wild and asymmetrical once you let a bunch grow together unmanaged. If you want it neater, you could chop them all down and start over with actual spacing, or just lean into the overgrown forest look since it's already established.
Oh, I like it in chunks because then it's just like big hunks of wood that I can just carve out at once without just doing the single lines.
Oh, that's smart actually. Chopping through a dense cluster in one go is way more efficient than hunting down scattered single trees. Just watch for the leaves decaying and dropping saplings everywhere afterward. Might leave you replanting a bit.
That's fine. I've noticed in this game they usually give you 2 to 1. So you always are able to have like extra of whatever you have. No matter how much you chop down or harvest, you'll have more seeds than you'll have harvest.
Yeah, that tracks. Minecraft's pretty generous that way. Saplings, seeds, and even things like the sugarcane or bamboo tend to overgive compared to what you plant. Keeps you from ever running dry as long as you replant even a little each time.
Yeah, I need to find some bamboo.
Bamboo mainly shows up in jungle biomes, and also sometimes along riverbanks near jungles. Given you're in swamp and forest territory, you might need to travel a bit to find a jungle, though it's also handy for
Does it
scouting.
matter which direction? Is it like the Earth where, you know, it's hotter in the south?
Nope, actually, Minecraft's world generatio N is fully random. No built-in north-south climate gradient like real Earth, so biomes are scattered based on the world seed regardless of direction. No better luck heading south versus any other way. It's really just pick a direction and explore.
How far can a world go out? How many blocks?
The world stretches about 30 million blocks in every direction from spawn before you hit the edge, so basically infinite for any practical purpose. You'd need to walk for months straight to ever come close to hitting it.
Maybe I should just stick on going in one direction. I've been going in multiple directions trying to find stuff, but if it's all random,
Yeah,
I don't think
honestly.
it matters.
Right, since it's fully random anyway, doesn't matter which way you commit to. Might actually help though, just pick one heading and stick with it instead of doubling back. At least then you're covering fresh ground instead of retreading old territory.
Well, I've been kind of working on that one main road where it's like forks off to the village.
Oh, nice. That's actually a great one to commit to then. Just keep extending that main road outward past the fork. You'll cover new ground steadily and end up with actual infrastructure to show for it instead of just wandering.
You know, I never use my easy deposit hole on the surface. I have a hole that leads directly into my hopper system.
Oh, nice. That's a great setup. Way better than manually carrying stuff back every time. Are you using that regularly for
No,
surface?
I'm not using it at all. I'm always carrying stuff down to the cellar.
Ha. Well, there it is. Sounds like it's just sitting there, ready and waiting. Might be worth making a habit of using it. Could save you a ton of walking back and forth on these long cave trips.
Growing up, I went to this sleepaway camp in the Adirondack Mountains, and this particular summer camp can be extremely dangerous and nobody ever warns you. It's up in those Adirondack Mountains way in upstate New York. On paper, it's one of the most beautiful places that you could ever send your kid. But there are stories buried deep in those woods. Unexplained stories that would cause any parent to never send their child there again. People will tell you about the fresh mountain air and the quiet lakes, and the traditions that make it feel like home. But they always leave out the rumors about the things that stalk campers from just outside of the tree line. They also conveniently forget to mention the campers that vanished without a trace, the kids that were quietly erased from the yearbooks. There's something very wrong with that forest, and I didn't realize until my third summer there. I'm gonna tell you 3 stories from 3 separate summers that I spent there, and each one of these stories gets progressively creepier, so make sure you stay
Okay,
until the end.
so I
These
need
stories
more
all feel
chests.
connected to me, but I can't put a finger on why. So if you see any
Yeah,
connections,
sounds about
please
right
let me
given
know
how
in the
packed
comments so I
your
don't feel
storage
crazy.
already is. You've got the copper and materials on hand, so just craft up as many as you need for that new golem mile.
Yeah, I'm almost done with it.
Nice, sounds like you're in the home stretch on that expansion. Let me know once it's up and
When
running.
I was about 8 or 9, and I think it was 2009, and I had no idea what to expect when I arrived there. I'd never been to anything quite like that, and I'd never been away from home for that long of a period. And let me tell you something, and let me be very, very clear. It turns out that sleepaway summer camps are the best thing ever. Like, I had never experienced something so overwhelmingly fun, such a positive experience in my life. It was like the first time that I had felt like real childhood bliss. Not that my childhood was bad by any means, or I didn't have friends, or I didn't have fun. There was something special about being shipped off into the middle of the woods with a lake and all of these activities going on with all of these kids your age with 0 responsibilities for literally a month. So let me paint this picture for you just so you understand where my mind state was at. And I know my mind state was at an 8-year-old child, but it's very important for you to understand what that moment in my life felt like for the rest of the story to make sense. When you first get there, there's this feeling out period. You're trying to make new friends, it's a slightly uncomfortable environment, but you get through the first week, everybody starts to get comfortable with each other, you get used to the camp daily routine, you guys have a bunch of competitions and excursions and activities, and you start bonding, and then the second week passes, you start to hit the peak of this trip. You have your best friends locked in, you've had some of the best experiences of your life, and you're right in the middle of this long month. You're fully warmed up to your environment, you're having the best time of your life, and you know that you have 2 weeks left of it. And there's something so special about that middle section where you've been there for 2 weeks and you know you have another 2 weeks. It's this level of freedom that you can't feel anywhere else. I imagine some people feel it when they're studying abroad or not even studying abroad, but traveling abroad, and nobody knows what country they're in. They're just like, I'm traveling for the next 2 months, and I've already been out here for 2. So I could go on and on about all of the activities that we did, from pottery to archery to kayaking to fishing. They pack so much into one summer, but for this story, I'm going to focus on where the real core memories are made. After all of the fun and games during the day, you and now your new best friends all bunked up in one cabin, 8 kids and 1 counselor. And those nights, those are the core memories. We're all kind of overly tired. We just had a big dinner. We have to go to sleep pretty soon, but we're all just so happy to be there with each other, laughing, joking, living in pure bliss. We're all trying to stay up longer than we're supposed to past the bedtime, but we're just young kids. We don't know how overtired we are. Plus, the counselor has to sleep in here with us. He's enforcing bedtime. And you're so excited for the activities the next day that you finally oblige him and he gets to sleep. But there's one thing that you have to get used to when you're living on a campsite. And that one major difference is how different going to the bathroom in the middle of the night is. When you're at home, you roll out of bed, you waddle over to your toilet, you don't even have to turn on a light, you barely have to open your eyes, and you could waddle back to bed completely unscathed. But when you're staying in a cabin in the middle of the woods, and you're 8, 9 years old, and there's no bathroom in the cabin, things change significantly. And not only does it change for you, but it changes for your potential bathroom mate. Because the rules are, you can't go by yourself. There's an outhouse in a different building outside of your cabin, and we're surrounded by woods. There could potentially be a bear walking through the campsite in the middle of the night. There could be a mountain lion prowling around. Young kids are not allowed to be out after dark unattended, so there's a bathroom buddy system, and you always have to be monitored by one of the counselors. So one night, I'm dead asleep, I'm exhausted from all the water sports we played the day before, but I feel my arm get shaken, and somebody's trying to wake me up. I try to ignore it, I try to roll over, but finally, I look over, I open my eyes begrudgingly, and I see my friend Danny trying to shake me awake. And I know right away what he needs. It happened constantly. I had to wake him up a few times too. Danny needs to go to the bathroom. So I roll over and I look at the counselor because the counselor needs to know that we're leaving. The counselor doesn't even really want to get up. He doesn't want to escort us over to the outhouse. So he just points at the door and he tells me to watch him from the door. Like I don't have to go with him either. The outhouse is right there. Make sure the door's open so I could see him and you can see him. So the rules of the camp are really straight and clear. You have to go with the buddy and the counselor has to escort you. But the counselor was sleeping and he was basically telling us, just go, we're both watching. And before I tear that counselor to pieces in the comments, because I know you're thinking if my kid was there, I would want him to be escorted to the bathroom and this lazy counselor won't even get up. You just have to understand that we're halfway through this camp. Everybody has a level of trust with each other, and you're kind of in that flow where rules start to get bent a little bit. Also, on top of that, our cabin was by far the closest to the outhouse. We were as far from the main building as we possibly could be. We were very close to the tree line, but we were also nearly 20 yards away from the outhouse. Like, you could see the door from where this counselor is laying. So specifically for our group, the rules are a little bit different. Like it is right there. He doesn't have to walk for 3 to 5 minutes just to get to the outhouse. If he jogs fast enough, he'll be there in 4 seconds. And this wasn't even the first time we did it this way. It's not like tonight was the night that he was the most exhausted. This was very common for our cabin. It was right there. So I roll out of my bunk bed, I open the door all the way. I have to keep it wide open so the counselor has his eyes a little bit open. He's dozing on and off. My eyes half closed, watching him. Danny runs across the little clearing in between our cabin and the outhouse, pops open the door and gets in. I'm leaning on this door, half asleep, waiting till I hear the clink of the outhouse. And it only takes about 20-30 seconds. Kid just took a whiz. And I see the door pop back open. I see Danny start slightly jogging back towards the cabin. We all want to get back to sleep. But as I'm slow blinking, trying to keep my sleepiness inside of me, I see Danny look both ways as he's running back towards our cabin, almost like he's like crossing a street. You know, you just naturally like look to your left and right, make sure nothing's coming. And he looks to his left, nothing. And he looks to his right, and I could see that he saw something, like something caught his eye, and he stopped halfway in between the outhouse and the cabin. And now he's completely stopped, looking in that direction with a curious look on his face. And I'm standing there so annoyed with him because it is the middle of the night. Get back in here, my feet are cold. And right as I'm about to kind of like shout towards him, like, dude, hurry up, my lips are opening, and this kid takes off towards the tree line. He starts running in that direction faster than he was running back towards the cabin. I don't immediately get concerned. I just get more annoyed. So I turn around, I shake the counselor awake, and I basically point towards the door. The counselor had closed his eyes. He was barely even paying attention. And I tell him that Danny ran over there towards the left, like he's messing around outside. I was basically going full tattletale on this kid, because I didn't want to deal with him. And the camp counselor jumps up and sprints after him, because this is on him. He was supposed to go with him in the first place. I could jump back into bed. He could go track this kid down. It's not really my responsibility. So he runs out the front door in the direction that I told him that Danny went. And within about 30 seconds, I could hear in the distance him dragging Danny back towards the cabin, back up the stairs. And once they're inside the cabin, he's scolding him and letting him know, like, if you do something like that again, we don't get to bend the rules around here. The next 2 weeks are going to suck and they're going to be strict. Even though he was kind of covering his own butt because he was supposed to go out there with him. He was still threatening Danny that if he acted out like that again, it was going to be a major issue. But there was one thing about their conversation as I was dozing off back to sleep that I found very odd that stuck with me. The camp counselor wasn't only telling him to not do it again, he was also kind of pressing him about what Danny saw, what made him run in that direction. He kept saying things like, what did you see out there? Like, tell me what you saw. And Danny kept saying, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. And it was super weird because the counselor asked this kid the same question about 5 times, as if he didn't believe Danny whatsoever. He wasn't like, why did you run away? He said, what did you see? And Danny adamantly said that he didn't see anything. His story did not change. He's like, I did not see anything out there. I'm sorry for running off. And the weirdest part about that entire situation is that Danny was completely lying. He lied to the counselor's face 5 times in a row. Said, I did not see a thing. But the second all the kids were around and the counselor wasn't around listening, he started telling us about what he saw. And you might get a chuckle out of what he told us. He got all the boys together and was like, guys, I have to tell all of you something. And we have no idea what he's going to say, but we weren't expecting this. The kid goes, I saw a glowing unicorn in the woods last night. And we all start laughing in this kid's face. This kid got in trouble last night. He ran off and is trying to tell us that he saw a glowing unicorn in the woods. And we all started ripping on him. We started making fun of him. He was the butt of every joke for half an hour. But he kept saying, I'm not lying. I'll prove it to you. I'll show you guys tonight. It's going to be there at the exact same time tonight. And we love to hear this. We love that the kid was doubling down on his lie, extending the joke even further. So we start making like little bets with him. I'll bet you $30 that I don't have that there's not a unicorn out there. And Danny is jumping back like, I'll bet you 100. And we're like, we'll bet you 250. And the bets keep growing until it gets to the really juicy ones, which are the bets that we actually follow through with, which are if there's not a glowing unicorn out there tonight, you, Danny, have to shave your head and your eyebrows. So we had Danny's eyebrows on it, and we knew that we were going to win. So we all agreed to it. We're so pumped. We have a hair razor in the cabin, and we have some eyebrows on the line, and we know we're going to win. Danny is going to look.
Stop it. This is about vacation inflation. Priceline shows amazing deals on hotel, flight, and rental cars. But identification, 60% off. One deal's more deals. Please stop. Touche.
bald face, it's going to be the best thing ever. We're going to be talking about this for years. And we're all ready to go. We all know the game. Let the sleeping counselor fall asleep. We all get up and run about 3 p.m. And Danny take us to where he saw the glowing unicorn. Then we get to laugh in his face, run back in, and those eyebrows are gone. So it's 3 a.m. We all silently climb out of bed. We don't put any shoes or socks on. We're as quiet as we can possibly be. One of the kids opens the cabin door ever so slowly, and we all sneak out one by one, and he closes it behind us. Once we go up there, we take about 30 yards away until we know we're out of earshot, and tell Danny to take us where he can take us. And as we're getting closer to the trees and we're following Danny, I'm annoyed that I don't have any shoes on because I'm stepping on twigs, I'm stepping on acorns, and I start to think about all the things that Danny made us do to come out here. One of the major things was that we can't bring shoes because the unicorn will hear us sneaking up on him. And now here we are, outside at 3 a.m., no shoes on, and Danny is pointing in the same direction that he was looking the night before. And we're all ready to dogpile on this kid and sneak back inside when we see something right behind the tree. None of us could see exactly what it was, but it was letting off like a little illumination of a light glowing hue, probably 20 feet into the woods, and you could see its figure like a little bit, and it's slowly moving from our left to our right. It seems to be on all fours. It seems to be glowing a little bit, and Danny's pointing at it like I told you, it's right there. Then he starts waving us on like, oh, we gotta get closer to it, because from here, we can't see what it is really. So we start creeping closer to the woods, and as we're getting closer to it, we can't tell if it heard us or if it was just naturally moving, but it seemed as if it changed course to go deeper into the woods, forcing us to go deeper into the woods to get a better look at it. And before you think what a crazy idea to go into the woods in the middle of the night, these woods were right next to our cabin, and we were in them every single day. We knew where we were, and we were all comfortable going maybe 100 feet into the woods. We wouldn't go any further than that, but where we were didn't feel dangerous to us whatsoever. Like, we could still see the cabin from where we were. We weren't far away. We weren't going to go miles in. We were just trying to get a little bit of a closer look at this oddly illuminated animal. And as we're creeping up on this thing, we could see it from behind. And it kind of looked like it had gotten kind of far away from us, but it had looped around like it was turning and coming back in our direction. So we all kind of communicate with each other, stop right here, hide behind some trees and bushes. It's coming back around. We don't have to creep any further. Let's just wait for it so we could get a better look in a minute or two. And we were right, this thing was coming back in our direction. I remember in that moment feeling so excited as this thing was approaching us. The closer it got, the happier I got. Nothing about this situation felt dangerous to me. And I know as a kid, your sense of mortality, your sense of danger is warped, but it never felt quite like this. Like, I had no indication that this could be dangerous whatsoever. If anything, I felt happy and free. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was hyped up. I was on a month-long vacation in the middle of the woods and snuck out in the middle of the night. I'm with my best friends. Danny's about to get his eyebrows shaved off, but actually now it's looking like he might not. And I'm about to see a unicorn, which is even better. And as this thing is getting closer and closer, you think it would get quieter and quieter not to scare it off. But it was as if we were in class at school and somebody did something funny. We weren't allowed to laugh, but that made the joke that much funnier. And we all started bursting out into a genuine laughter. It was like we couldn't hold this in. The closer this thing got to us, the more euphoric and happy we felt, and the harder all of us laughed. It literally felt like it was about to be the best moment of our lives, the best moment of the summer. And eventually this thing finally got close enough to us. Our laughter didn't scare it off, and it definitely wasn't a unicorn. It looked like a deer at first. And mind you, this thing was still moving. We were still hiding. I was seeing it in between trees. I was seeing it from like peeking out behind the tree that I was hiding behind. So I was seeing it in glimpses. But each glimpse that I saw, it looked a little bit different than the last time. And the first thing that I noticed about it, the first couple good looks I got at it, it wasn't just glowing. Like, it definitely had some type of eerie illumination coming off of it, but it also had some type of flicker thing going on, almost like it was glitching as it was moving. Every few steps, it would do this spastic glitchy movement, and its posture would change. It would look like it had a different form to it, but then it would kind of snap back to all fours. And once it got past this big tree, I was able to see its head, and it definitely wasn't a unicorn. It did not have one horn sticking out of the middle of its forehead. It had two antlers sticking out of its head. It was 100% some kind of buck that antlers, a deer head. But when it would glitch, it would go from walking on all fours looking kinda normal to looking like it was kinda distorted and sometimes even walking on only 2 of its back hooves. It looked very unnatural, but also something about it looked elegant and inviting. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. There was this glow of elegance coming off of it. And we're all watching this thing, walking in front of us, glitching out, and we're laughing hysterically, having the best time. And then Danny hopped out from behind his tree and started running towards this thing, as if like this is the next part of this activity, and all of us just followed suit. I remember popping out from behind my tree, and like this is going to be the next fun part. We chase after this thing, or we catch up to it. It's like a dog chasing an ice cream truck. You don't really know what you're going to do if you actually catch it. And we're all just running towards this thing. Something about it felt so fun to us, and the glow that was coming off this thing, plus the light of the moon, was illuminating the forest just enough that it wasn't this horrible, dark, eerie, woodsy thing. It had this weird light to it. It made it less scary. It made it more inviting. It made it feel like doing things that it used to be doing. And obviously, whatever this was, it was startled by a group of young kids laughing hysterically and running towards it, and it started glitching off deeper into the woods. But we wouldn't stop it. We see this thing that's pretty fast, and just going deeper into the woods, and we're just chasing after this thing. We were having the time of our life. I remember my heart beating, taking big inhales, sprinting as fast as I could. Then I heard the first bump, followed by what seemed like a hailstorm of pebbles hitting the trees around us, some of them hitting my shins and my legs, and it was like the entire moment changed. All of the fun that we were just having evaporated in a millisecond, and we had no idea what to do. We all just skid to a stop, having no idea what made that sound and what threw those rocks in our direction. So we're all frozen there looking at each other, and the grunts aren't stopping. If anything, they're building up, and we hear something coming in our direction, crunching leaves, snapping sticks, and as it's getting closer, it sounds like it's clubbing tree trunks in some type of aggressive rampage or some kind of territorial act to let us know that it's there. And the happy glow that we were chasing that was illuminating our surroundings was running off into the distance, leaving us in woods that are getting darker and darker, with this sound getting closer and closer. And we're all frozen, not really sure what to do, not terrified quite yet, when finally this thing emerged in between us and the glow in the distance. So we're able to see its silhouette about 20 yards away from us, and our source of light is fading into the distance, and that's when panic set in. We couldn't see any features of its face. We could only see the outline of its body and like the hue of its color. And this thing was massive. It was thick, it had a brown hue to its entire figure, and it was walking on 2 legs. And on top of all of that, it was acting wildly aggressive, and it was clearly planning on continuing to pursue us, because once it saw us, all of us trying to hide, once it locked in on one of us, it started coming towards us. This thing wasn't just being territorial, it was being aggressive. And I hear some of the other kids in my group start bursting out in tears. I hear them crying. I felt fear in my chest, but I wasn't crying immediately because I was kind of frozen in fear. But what I heard and what I listened to was one of the kids yell, "Run." And the second he said it, I heard kids scampering to their feet and starting to run back towards the cabin. I was not about to be the last one back at the cabin. I wanted to get a couple people in between me and that thing. So I start taking off running, trying my best to get to the cabin first, or at least be in the middle of the pack so I don't get picked off by this thing. I managed to not trip or fall. I saw a couple kids stumble. They got back to their feet. I didn't hear anybody scream in agony, but who knows who got dragged off. I was one of the first kids back to the cabin. We did not care about waking up the counselor. We ran in, kids are crying. Once everybody got in, we slammed the door. We didn't know if it was everybody, but like the main core of the group were in the cabin. We didn't know if it was back. So we slammed the door. The counselor's up to his feet. He's freaking out. He's like, "Where were you guys?" Kids are crying, screaming, confessing about what we were doing. Some of the kids had already come to conclusions and are saying things like, "Bigfoot attacked us." The pure euphoria that we were feeling when we were out there chasing that deer thing turned into complete terror the second we saw whatever the second thing was. And the rest of the night basically turned into confessions and allegations from all of the camp counselors. And we all told the exact same story. Nobody was lying. But the real story painted a very clear picture. All roads were leading back to Danny being the ringleader here. Like, it was his fault we were out there, which then led to Danny being sent home the next day, and for our cabin to be monitored twice as hard. I was just a kid at the time, so I didn't really understand what was going on and what even really happened to us. But I do remember the counselors acting as if it was a much bigger deal than it felt like. Like, I was over it after a day or two, but it was the talk of camp for a while, and I would hear the counselors talking about it, theories, what they thought it was, and then I would hear whispers where they would say things that they were purposely trying to keep away from us. One sentence that always stuck with me is a counselor said directly to another counselor, "Thank God it wasn't the Buck Moon year."
It always ends like that, like he's like boom, and it's like there's nothing else that like adds up to it.
My family didn't have the money to send me back to this camp every single year. If we could go every single year, I would have. I love that place. But the next time I had the realistic opportunity to go back was 4 years later when I was about 13 years old. Obviously, when you don't go to a place for 4 years, when you return there, you go through a reacclimation process again, very similar to my first time. Most of the counselors were different this time around. I was bunked up with different people. I didn't really know anybody. Plus, I was 4 years older, so it was a completely unique experience from the first time. The activities were different, the rules were different because we were older. The place that I stayed on the campsite was different because the older kids were located in a different area. But with all of that being said, it was still an amazing experience, just as good as the first time around. And by the time I was in the middle of that month, 2 weeks were done, we had 2 weeks ahead of us, I felt like I was on top of the world again. Like I said, the older kids stayed in a different area. We were sleeping in a cabin that was in a completely different spot, almost across the campsite from the last time that I was there. And I kind of like this spot better. We weren't all the way by the outhouses and on the edge of the tree line. This one was really close to the lake. It was a nicer setup. They gave it to the slightly older kids on purpose. So this new cabin was in between the lake and the main building where all the indoor activities were and where the food was served, like the dining hall and stuff. And I'm not going to pretend like I liked this area where we were staying so much more than the other place because of what happened at the other place. I wasn't scared about what happened 4 years earlier. We basically got over that within a couple days, and the rest of the last trip was fantastic. This was just a nice new change of scenery. I would have stayed at the other cabins too. It didn't matter to me. Nothing about what happened the first time that I was there stuck with me in a negative way. If anything, in hindsight, it was another thing that was fun about my time there. It was like a spooky camp story that I could reminisce on. Nobody got hurt, nobody went missing, everything was all good. It was just a fun campfire story. So I wasn't even slightly thinking about the incident from 4 years ago. I was completely in my own life, doing activity by activity with these new friends that I made. We were halfway through the month. In that peak period, we're all dead asleep in the middle of the night, and we hear the bells start ringing, and we hear somebody speaking over the loudspeaker like an announcement to the entire campsite. And everybody sits up, groggy and confused. We're all trying to listen. No one has any idea what's going on. We're groggily putting on our clothes, tying our shoes. The counselors are telling us to slowly walk outside. There's an emergency meeting going on in the center of the camp. Once I'm out there, I see all of the other cabins emptying and congregating in the middle, and I see the adults coming from the main building, and everybody seems to be in a little bit of a panic, as if something has gone very, very wrong. I can't hear what happened yet, but people are making announcements, people are whispering, and my group is slowly approaching the large gathering in the middle. Right away, the main priority seemed to be counting the kids. We weren't getting any information about what was going on, but our counselors were doing head counts, calling out like, we have everybody here, and it didn't seem like any kids were missing. But that was until we got to the announcements. All of the cabins that had evacuated to the middle, they had all their kids, but the reason that we were out there was because one kid was already missing. In the middle of the night, a kid vanished. Apparently in the middle of the night, this kid got up, left the cabin, and nobody had seen him since. One kid that was sleeping in the same cabin as the missing kid said that he was kind of half awake and he saw the missing kid slip out of the cabin, but he was groggy. He wasn't sure if he was dreaming. He thought the kid was going for a bathroom break. He didn't think he had to sit up, but he had a faint memory of watching the kid slip out of the front door. So they knew that he left voluntarily, but the kid never came back. Over an hour had passed. The counselor woke up and by chance saw this empty bed. He easily could have slept through the night and this kid could have been gone for hours. But luckily this counselor woke up, alerted everybody, and now here we are, congregating in the middle of the campsite, trying to put together a search party. And obviously everybody was concerned. All of the kids were concerned too. Everybody wanted to help. It seemed like this big deal, and it seemed as if the adults needed help. And the kid that went missing clearly needed help. But they were very stern with the fact that all of the kids that were under like 15 years old were not allowed to search throughout the night. They had to go back to their cabins immediately. The adults were going to start the search. They were going to call in for help. And in the morning, the younger kids could help searching around the campsite just in case he's hiding somewhere. They made it extremely clear that nobody was allowed to leave the cabins that night. You're not allowed to go to the outhouses. Here's a bucket in each cabin. Keep the doors locked. Nobody go anywhere. The last thing we need is a second missing kid. So all of us had no other choice but to go right back to sleep, even though it was hard to fall back asleep because we could hear all of the adults calling this kid's name, wandering around the campsite. Usually it was super quiet there, but now it was a really hectic night. But all of us managed to get a couple hours of shut-eye. Of course, we woke up the next morning. First thing everybody wants to know is, did they find him? And the answer was absolutely not. Nobody found him. Nobody's found any signs of him. And we're all still looking for him. So by that time, the authorities had gotten involved. People had come to help. The adults were really organizing search parties. There were dogs there, and now all of the younger kids were awake, and they were going to use us to help look for him. But like I said, we're only allowed to look around the campsite. We have to stay on our property, and they told us to search in places that you think somebody could hide. Maybe the kid wandered off, maybe he had a bad day, maybe somebody was picking on him, maybe he's hiding, maybe he doesn't want to be around people. We don't really know if he went off into the woods. We don't know if he went to the outhouse. This kid could be hiding in the dining hall. He could be hiding under a table. He could be hiding in garbage cans, behind garbage cans. They basically told us for us to do a thorough game of hide and seek on the campsite while they searched the woods on the outskirts. So they gave us a brief description of the kid, what he looked like, his hair color, and then they told us what he was wearing. They said he was wearing a light blue hoodie, flannel pajama pants, and no shoes. At least that's what the kid that saw him slip out of the front door said. So that's all the information we had. We were looking for a light blue hoodie hiding somewhere. So we're searching everywhere. We're doing our absolute best. We want to help the cause. And eventually, we make our way over to near the cabin that the kid left from. And once we see that that's where a lot of the authorities are and a lot of the search dogs are, we're very curious because we want to see if they've found anything. And the closer that we get, we see what they're doing inside. They have the dogs smelling the kid's clothes. And I noticed something very interesting. They're in the same cabin that I was in 4 years ago, right by the outhouse, right by the same tree line. And when they have the dogs smell some of his clothes, it's like they caught a scent immediately. These dogs seemed supremely confident that they knew what direction this kid went. They basically dragged their owners, and the rest of the adults followed suit into this tree line in a very specific direction. And we were pretty happy with what we were seeing. Those dogs seemed like they knew exactly where he went. So now it was just a waiting game until the dogs found him. We weren't allowed to follow them into the woods, so all we could do is keep looking for him on the campsite, even though it seemed like he was out that direction. So that particular group is gone for hours. We're searching for a few hours, but eventually, we're still only like 13 years old. The people that are in charge of us are like, go eat dinner and go to your cabin. We can't say no, we want to keep searching. We're also liabilities. They're like, eat your food, get in the cabin, and we have to listen to them. So even though we're stuck in our cabin, and the sun's going down, we're still curious about what's happening outside. All activities for the day were taken away from us, and this was the only thing that was going on. So we have kids at every single window, scouting the area to see if anybody comes back with something good. And as everybody's starting to re-enter the campsite, all of these adults, all of these search parties, we see the group with the dogs coming towards the middle of the campsite, and they're holding a blue hoodie. And all of us run over to the window. We're all peering through it. We see the kids in the other cabins also peering through it, and all of the adults are swarming towards this group of dogs and this clear blue garment that they're holding up to everybody. And we see them passing around the hoodie. We see them run it to one of the cabins and hold it up to the kid that said he saw him leave. And we see the kid nodding, and it's a full confirmation that this is that kid's hoodie. They found it, but they didn't find him. He's nowhere to be found. And we're stuck in this cabin, waiting anxiously. We see our counselor go to this group of adults, start talking to everybody, gather all of the information, and finally he comes back to our cabin and gives us the slow drip of information about what happened. So we're hoping for good news, and this is what the counselor tells us. He says that that is 100% his hoodie. They found it about 6 miles away from the campsite, in the direction that you saw them leave, but they didn't find him. But there's also no signs of a struggle. The hoodie was clean, it wasn't torn up, it didn't look like a predator was carrying it, there was no blood on it, there was barely any dirt on it. It was like the kid took it off and dropped it on the floor, but there's no sign of him, so the search is still on. And I didn't understand the significance of what he told me at the time. In my little kid brain, I was like, okay, so he hiked about 6 miles, he got hot, he dropped his hoodie, so they're closing in on him, like they'll probably find him soon. It didn't register with me that an 8 or 9-year-old kid couldn't hike that far away by himself. That's not just a leisurely hike for a child with no shoes on. He physically couldn't have gotten that far. And then they only find one of his garments, and there's no sign of him in the area, as if he might have gone even further. It didn't register with me. I didn't know how bizarre it was at the time. I thought the adults will handle it. They're closing in on him. They'll find him soon. And I remember looking at the counselor and not understanding why he looked so scared and concerned. Because to me, that was an absolute win. The kid obviously ran away. He just dropped his hoodie. There wasn't a struggle. No predator attacked him. But this camp counselor is acting as if this is a horrible, bizarre situation. My little kid mind couldn't grasp it. So we have to go to sleep that night. There's nothing else we could do. There's no help that we could give anybody. And we have to hit the hay. Naturally, all of the adults start a secondary search in the area that they found the hoodie. But this was like way far out. They were like 6 miles away scanning that area. So all of the adults were pretty much gone. We had a bunch of camp counselors there for us, but I'm talking about the higher-ups and then all of the help that they called in. When everybody was around camp, it felt like that's what was going on. Everybody's searching for this kid. But when the search is miles off the campsite, it kind of feels like there's nothing to do. And they found his garment all the way out there, so they know that he's not at the camp. So we were all meant to go back to our regular daily routine. We go back to our camp activities as if nothing is happening. They made the decision for us to go back to business as usual because the hoodie had no damage on it. There was no signs of bears or mountain lions in the area. There was no real signs of danger. Everything pointed towards the fact that this kid ran away on his own. So all of the other campers going back to business as usual wasn't much of an issue, unless one of us wanted to run away too. They felt like there was not a threat, and we could go back to being kids and the adults will handle the search. So our activity for the day was fishing. They brought us onto a boat, they took us out in the middle of the lake. It was a fairly good time, and I don't know exactly what time it was when this happened, but I know it was like late afternoon. It wasn't morning or early afternoon, but it also wasn't nighttime. And we're chilling in the boat, waiting for a bite, waiting for a nibble on one of our rods, when we see a boat coming from the other side of the lake, flying past us. Like at a speed that they would tell us to definitely don't drive the boat that fast. And definitely don't drive a boat that fast near another boat that's fishing. Like you're going to cause wakes, you're going to scare away the fish. It would be considered inconsiderate. But as this boat is approaching us and passing us, everybody on that boat seems to be frantic and like they are driving with urgency. Like rules don't apply to them right now. And almost immediately after, somebody on that boat radioed to all the counselors in the area to let them know to come back to shore. So we have no idea what's going on. We turn our boat around, we pull our lines out of the water, and we try to get back to shore as fast as we can. It seems as if there's another emergency happening. Maybe another kid went missing. Maybe they found evidence of something dangerous. We don't know what we're walking into, but it feels like we're walking into something bad when we get off that boat. But as we got to shore, we see the boat that was flying past us parked there. They had beat us there, obviously. And as we're entering the campsite, we see some type of celebration going on. The energy is not bad. It does not seem like there's a horrible emergency. It seems as if spirits are high and people are celebrating something. And past the group that's celebrating, we see a group of adults walking a kid into the main hall, and it's the kid that went missing. They found him. So we get into the big group and we're asking around, we're trying to get some information. What happened? Where did they find him? What's going on? And everybody was telling us they found him, he's all good, he's in good spirits, he's healthy, he's safe, it's all fine. So that's what the entire celebration was about. It's not like they were holding the kid up in the air and chanting his name. The adults immediately took him to take him into the main hall and question him because he was potentially in trouble for running away. But the celebration was that he wasn't missing anymore. And no matter how much trouble he's in, at least he's alive. So once all of the adults had spoken to him, and they got all of the information out of him, and then the adults gave that information to the counselors that then gave the information to us, is when it started getting very weird. So apparently, that boat that was flying by us on the lake, the kid was on that boat, but it makes absolutely no sense because they had found him on the opposite side of the lake drinking some water near the shore. But there was a search party going on near the campsite, so across this very large lake, 6 miles in the other direction. So based on where he was, this kid would have had to hike 6 miles in the opposite direction of the lake, take off his hoodie, turn left, hike around the entire lake, which is close to 12-15 mile hike, and then hang out on the opposing side of the lake for like 2 days. And he was 8 or 9 years old. And the most bizarre part about it was that he was completely okay. He was hydrated, he was fed, he didn't have a scratch on him. When they were inspecting his feet, no blisters, no calluses, no cuts. This kid just hiked 20 miles in the past 48 hours. His feet were in pieces. So even though nothing about his whereabouts was adding up, they had an eyewitness account. They could ask this kid, what happened? Why did you run off? What is going on? How did you end up on the other side of the lake? Are you okay? And this kid was just in great spirits. And he's like, I'm completely fine. I had food, I had water. Like no stress whatsoever, as if he didn't just go through a traumatic experience. And when they asked him why he left, like were people bullying you? What was going on in camp? Why would you leave camp like that? He replied in a very jolly manner. I was following the unicorn. And when they asked him, how on earth did you get on the other side of the lake? And where have you been this entire time? We found your hoodie that direction. Where were you? He said as if it was a completely reasonable response. Mr. Leather took me there. Mr. Leather had been taking care of me. Obviously, the adults started freaking out, asking this kid who Mr. Leather was and if Mr. Leather did anything to hurt him. But this kid was like 8 or 9 years old. He was adamant that he liked Mr. Leather. Mr. Leather's nice. And he didn't understand why the adults were reacting in such a way, even though what he said came off as crazy. So they start digging and they're trying to get more information from this kid to see if Mr. Leather did anything to him. But it seemed as if the kid's only regret about the whole situation was that he shouldn't have followed the unicorn because it wasn't nice like Mr. Leather.
I dreamed I'd be ready for college way ahead of time.
And now you're way behind?
Yes, and I have no idea how I'll get it all done on time and in my budget.
Well, luckily, IKEA has everything you need to make it your space on your budget. And with everything ready to take away from our stores with click and collect, it's easier than ever.
That's convenient.
Exactly.
Get IKEA whenever, wherever, however at IKEA.us. IKEA, dream the possibilities.
Every mile matters, whether you're driving your dream car or your daily commuter. The Mobile One team knows that. It's why we created Mobile One Advanced Clean Motor Oil. It cleans your engine in one oil change and helps extend engine life, delivering performance for vehicles of all ages. All to help keep your engine running like new, whatever you're driving. Visit mobileone.com/advancedclean.
Hey, I like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the runway approved vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or really admired vehicle?
Oh, or really awesome vehicle.
It really is the recreational activity. The stylish Toyota RAV4.
A Lego set is a gift that always clicks. And clicks. Watch out! And clicks. For kids who love adventure, choose a Lego set. A gift that always clicks.
When you earn a degree with Purdue Global, you're getting a quality education built especially for working adults. With a variety of class times and learning formats to choose from, and support from dedicated advisors who help you build a timeline tailored to your life, Purdue Global makes it possible to move your life forward while you're living it. This is your moment, your chance to earn a degree you're proud of and employers respect. Explore degree and certificate programs at purdueglobal.edu.
The next time I got the opportunity to come back to camp was when I was 17 years old, and the only reason I was able to come back was because I signed up to be a counselor there. It was my first time being a counselor there. It's not like I was paid. I was paid almost nothing, to be honest. It was more of like a work for study thing. And it was like a trial somewhere where they're training you to be a real counselor in the future. Like, I guess you could say I was more of a counselor's aide than a counselor in general, but for me, it was an opportunity to go back to this amazing place. So obviously, this situation is a little bit different. Instead of me showing up as a camper, the whole month is filled with activities for me. I have to show up a week early to do the training to be this counselor's aide. And we're going over camp routines, emergency tactics, the rules of the campsite, how to handle behavioral issues. You got to learn CPR and learn the rules and the regulations of the campsite. But if I'm being honest with you, it wasn't super intense. It was pretty laid back and chill. It had a similar vibe to if you were a camper there. It's like, hey, you just got to learn these couple responsibilities, but other than that, have a good time. And on top of that, it's my first year there. Nobody's expecting that much of me. Yes, am I learning things? Absolutely. But do I have an overwhelming responsibility? Absolutely not. So we do the orientation, everybody introduces themselves to each other, and eventually they hand you over to the senior counselor that's going to be like your mentor for the summer. And wouldn't you know it, the senior counselor that I was allotted to was actually Danny, and I know what you're thinking. Didn't Danny get kicked out of this camp for bad behavior? Like, why would they bring Danny, this kid, back and give him any level of authority here? And that's exactly what I thought. So that's the first thing that I asked him. How did you manage to get back in here? And I reminded him what I remembered about the situation. I was like, didn't you get kicked out of here a few years ago, like when we met as kids? And we had a good talk about it because that was literally the last time we had seen each other. Because he wasn't even there the last time that I had went in 2009. Because every summer has two 30-day periods. You either choose the first one or the second. So we did the other one, so we didn't cross paths then. So it'd been like 8 years since we had seen each other. And I was thinking he was banished from this camp forever, like they hated this camp. But what he told me was that it actually had kind of brought him closer to the camp in general. Like, yes, did he get scolded? Yes, was he in trouble? Absolutely, they were not happy with him. But it was a learning experience, and of course they gave him another opportunity to show that he was responsible and could turn things around. He had apologized to all of the adults immediately and told all of them that this camp was his favorite place in the world, so he didn't even have to take a year off. They immediately invited him back the very next year. And he had literally come here every single year since. So once he started getting a little bit older, they started training him to be a counselor right away because he turned into this model camper. He told me that that incident that happened all of those years ago was literally the reason he was still here. And it was the reason that he was probably going to try to continue to work here for his whole life. It was like a major moment in his life that changed the trajectory. And I was so happy for him. This was a great story. This is like a juvenile delinquent success story. Something horrible happened, he turned his life around and he found his passion. So anyway, the week goes by, Danny's teaching me everything, he's getting me up to speed. I like him as much as I did when I first met him, and eventually all of the campers arrive. And we're assigned a specific group of kids that are our responsibility. So we're assigned a younger group of kids, a group of 8 and 9-year-olds, which we were pretty happy about because we didn't want to deal with like the angsty teenagers. Even though we were angsty teenagers, the 13-year-olds knew how to like poke your buttons and get under your skin. At least the 8 and 9-year-olds were a little bit scared of you and a little bit easier to manage. And it's actually funny, we got assigned the exact same cabin that Danny and I had stayed in all of those years ago. So it was this fun, nostalgic moment where Danny and I are bringing these little 8 and 9-year-olds into this cabin for their first time, and we're watching them living their core memories, and it's really, really wholesome. It felt different inside of the cabin and on the campsite in general as a 17-year-old, especially a 17-year-old with a little bit of responsibility. It didn't have that magical feeling that it used to, but it was a great feeling creating a magical environment for these 8 and 9-year-olds that are about to experience it for their first time. Because you see how excited they are, and they're about to build these amazing core memories. It's almost like making Christmas great for your children. Like, yeah, it doesn't feel like Christmas to you anymore, but you could see that it feels like Christmas to them. So it means just that much more. And we absolutely lucked out with the group of kids that we got. They were all just little sporty kids. They all got along. None of them had bad attitudes, and they weren't difficult at all. If I said no, they said yes, Captain. And of course there's bumps along the way. We're on a campsite for a month and these are young kids. This is a place filled with kids doing activities. They scrape their knees, they bust open their elbows, people get into little scuffles, they're arguing with each other, there's tiffs, some kids cry here and there. But overall, it wasn't very turbulent. We really lucked out with these kids. They listened well, they were respectful, and they were all really kind-hearted. So Danny and I felt like it was our obligation to give them the best summer of their lives. And again, we're about halfway through this month. 2 weeks in with 2 weeks left. Everybody is enjoying the camp festivities. But even though the kids were having an amazing time, all of the counselors and the people that are in charge, they had meetings just to talk about anything that went wrong, any rule changes, any upcoming weather events, any potential dangers, and it was just a weekly gathering. And every week there was a different warning about a different thing. Usually it wasn't very major. So we go to this one specific debriefing as all the kids are eating. We have about 30 minutes to talk. And for the most part, the meeting goes as usual. Make sure the fires are out at night, make sure the kids are asleep, look out for bears, blah blah blah. Keep the first aid kits around, make sure you keep your eye on the water when the kids are there. Regular stuff. But there was one thing that the man in charge of the entire camp said that stood out to me. He addressed all of the senior aides, and he said, don't forget that the buck moon is this weekend, and we're in a dry season. And I looked around the room because that was gibberish to me, but it seemed as if all of the senior aides were nodding their head in understanding, as if they knew exactly what he was talking about, and they had a serious look on their face like, yeah, don't worry, boss, we know what's coming. But I had no idea what he meant by that. So the second that meeting was wrapped up, I talked to Danny and I'm like, yo dude, what was that about? And honestly, I kind of felt stupid asking, because everybody seemed to know what he meant but me. And I see Danny, I know him pretty well at this point, and I see in his eyes that he's trying to act hush-hush about the topic and trying to change the direction of the conversation, but I'm not having it. I let him try to dribble around the conversation for most of the walk back to the cabin, but as we're approaching the kids, I finally really press him, and I'm like, dude, why are you beating around the bush? What is so serious about this? Just tell me, dude. And he started acting really weird, and he looked at me and he said, it's not that serious, man. Just, if you notice any of the kids start acting weird this week, just tell me and I'll handle it. This reply didn't help whatsoever, because I'm like, why are you acting like one of these kids is about to turn into a werewolf when the full moon hits? And I could tell that he's racking his brain about how he's going to tell me something. But he lands on a question instead, and he asked me, what was the last year that you were here? And I reply, 4 years ago, 2009. And I could see that he does a little bit of math in his head. And he looks at me and he says, oh, you were here for the last dry summer too. And then I see another spark behind his eye, as if he had another realization. And the last time you were here before that was the year that you were with me, right? And I nod my head like, yeah, like, what are you trying to get at, dude? And this kid starts to like chuckle and laugh, and he's looking at me kind of crazy, and he's like, you must have some bad luck, don't you? You only show up here when it's a dry summer. And I kind of chuckle back because I'm like, well, I mean, you're right. I don't have the best luck. Thanks for pointing that out, but nothing that you said here, none of the questions that you asked me gave me any clarity. So I follow up and I'm like, okay, do we have to keep the kids extra hydrated because of the dry summer? What's the protocol? And then he finally says something that gives me a hint of clarity. He goes, there's like this stupid superstition around here about the week of the buck moon. And it's like specifically during a dry summer. They say that if there's been no rain before the buck moon, it thins the veil and things that aren't usually in the forest can make their way through. But way more importantly, they say that sometimes when the full moon is getting close, the kids start to act up a little bit. They say that it messes with their sleep and they get overtired or something. I haven't really noticed it, but this is the first dry summer that I'm working here opposed to just attending. And I thought, okay, that makes sense. He didn't want to spook me with some weird superstition that he didn't really take seriously. I know that the kids might get extra irritable, and whatever, a buck moon dry summer, it's not really a big deal. And he basically nods his head, ending the conversation, giving me a facial expression like, yeah, dude, I wouldn't worry about it too much. So we get back to the cabin, we have responsibilities, we have kids to look after, but in the back of my head, I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that every time that I had been here, it's been a dry summer. And both times that I had been here, something weird happened. And not enough to scare me away forever, but enough for me to notice the coincidence in that moment. But I don't have much time to dwell on it. These days are packed. This camp has so many activities and festivities. Your day just moves on. You don't have time to marinate on thoughts. So time moves on. We have stuff to do. At this point, it's 2 days past that briefing. I'm not even thinking about that anymore. The day is over. We've been out in the hot sun all day. We are ready to go to sleep. We're exhausted. And I came to realize that you don't ever really get a full night's sleep as a camp counselor because there's 8 kids. Kids always need something. They've had a bad dream, they're homesick, they wet the bed, they have to go to the bathroom. There's always something. You're up 3 to 4 times a day. It's like you're a newborn's parent. So about halfway into the month, instead of you reaching this like peak fun, as the counselor, the overtiredness starts to catch up to you. And it must have started catching up for Danny as well, because I was out cold, he was out cold, and neither of us woke up for it. It wasn't until a gust of wind sucked the air out of the cabin, slamming the door back shut, do we realize that not one of our campers was still in the cabin with us in the middle of the night. We woke up at the exact same moment, the moment the door clapped against the door frame. We looked at each other and realized what was going on at the exact same moment. This was the night before the buck moon, so the moonlight was like pretty bright. It wasn't a full moon bright, but it wasn't pitch black outside because of it. So we jumped to our feet and we're scurrying around this cabin, moving blankets, hoping at least one kid is in here with this moonlight coming in through the windows, and no one's here. It is like a nightmare for a counselor. Every single one of your kids is gone. And these kids didn't even try to make it seem like they were there. They weren't tucking pillows or blankets. They left this cabin willy-nilly, didn't care if they got caught, didn't care if we woke up and saw that nobody was there. It seemed as if they had no remorse for their actions. They weren't even thinking about the consequences. And you want to keep composure. You want to think that everything's going to be okay. But in a moment like that, you realize that there are 8 young kids that are supposed to be your responsibility out in the middle of the night. And that's when the panic really starts setting in, because they're all your responsibility. you're gonna have to hear from every parent if any of their kids get hurt. So we sprint out of that cabin and we're whipping our heads in every direction to see any sign of where these kids went. And I remember thinking, I hope they're just...
Hello, this is Mary at the Department of Rejected Dreams. If you had a dream rejected, IKEA can make it possible.
Hey, I dreamed I'd be ready for college way ahead of time.
And now you're way behind?
Yes, and I have no idea how I'll get it all done on time and in my budget.
Well, luckily, IKEA has everything you need to make it your space on your budget. And with everything ready to take away from our stores with Click and Collect, it's easier than ever.
That's convenient.
Exactly.
Get IKEA whenever, wherever, however at IKEA.us. IKEA, dream the possibilities.
They're just all at the outhouse. Maybe they all had to go to the bathroom at the same time. Or maybe they're sneaking over to the girls' cabin to peek in because they're little weirdos. I was hoping for the best, but I saw no signs of anything good. And we were about to start ringing the big bell to get everybody's attention, to wake everybody up to come out of the cabin so we could all go searching for them. But in that exact same moment, we heard them all laughing. It was as if one of them had made the funniest joke in the world, and they all simultaneously started laughing at us. And we looked towards the tree line into the forest, and it felt like they were like watching us, laughing at us from inside of the trees. And as our eyes are getting acclimated to the lighting, I start to see figures like running back and forth. And I see that these kids are running around, swarming about 30 feet into the woods. All of them are in there, and they're just running around, laughing hysterically. And initially you feel like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. They're all laughing and having fun. It's not like they're scared. It would be worse if you heard them yelling or calling for help. At least they're laughing. They're being mischievous. That means they're okay. We know that nobody's hurt, nobody's lost. They are just being mischievous and irresponsible, and they have no idea how dangerous what they're doing is. But at least they're all right there and they're having a good time. So we run directly into the woods to catch up to them, to basically emerge into their group and be like, hey, you guys are caught, let's go back now. But the second we get into those woods, we realize that there is something wrong. We thought that once they saw us, they would realize that they were in trouble and stop running and be like, oh, we're caught. Not that they were terrified of us, but we definitely had a level of authority. Like I said, they listened well, they respected us. We were trying to make them have the best summer ever, and they loved us for it. So if we said no, they said yes, sir. But when we got into those woods and we caught up to them, it was as if all of these kids didn't care that we were there, and they were running circles around us like a little swarm of bees, completely ignoring our existence, and they're playing tag with one another. They're in their own world, laughing hysterically, running at us in every direction in the middle of the night. And as we're trying to get their attention and being completely ignored, I realized that this is the wildest, most aggressive game of tag that I've ever witnessed, especially with these boys. So we start trying to speak up. We start yelling at these kids like, what are you guys doing out? Like, we're trying to scold them, trying to get their attention with like a little bit of bass and aggression in our voice. These kids just keep playing. They're laughing hysterically, chasing each other down and tagging each other. As they're running by me, I'm getting quick glimpses at their faces. Their eyes are wide open, and they're weirdly illuminated by the moonlight, and they're a little bit glazed over as if these kids are overtired and just riding off a sugar rush or something. And they're laughing and doing like the little kid shrieks as they're almost getting tagged, and the smiles on their faces are so big, like this is the best game of tag that they've ever played. And Danny and I find ourselves with our backs towards each other so we could see all around us, with these kids just circling us, using us as like a little block in between the person that's it. And we don't really have any idea what to do about it. We're shouting at them, they're not listening. Then I notice something very odd. The kid that's it is chasing down another kid right in front of me. And when he tags him, it's not like a regular tag. He gets to this kid and he like double hand slaps his back and pushes him to the ground as they're running full speed. And the kid that got tagged like skids his face on the ground. He smashed into the dirt, skid his face. The one kid yells, "You're it," runs off laughing hysterically. And I'm thinking, okay, that's gonna end this game. This kid's about to start crying because he just got double hand slapped and hit his face on the ground. But it's like he had no reaction to it. The game kept going. It was the most aggressive tag I'd ever seen these kids do. This kid gets right up, starts chasing after another kid, basically 5-stars him on the back as hard as he can, yells, "You're it," and they're still going. This wildly aggressive, loud game of tag. And me and Danny are looking at each other, not knowing what to do, because we're not actually supposed to like get physical with these kids. Like, we're not allowed to physically punish them. We could verbally scare them and get them in trouble. Tell their parents, don't do that, and scold them like an adult. But there isn't much we can do to harm them. But we're out in the woods in the middle of the night, and none of them are listening to us or respecting us. And we think we make a calculated decision that their parents would be totally okay with us grabbing a firm wrist grab in this situation. We would never hurt these kids, but it is dangerous to be out here, and the game that they're playing is ridiculously aggressive and dangerous, so we need to wrangle them. So one of them runs by me, and I snag a wrist, and I snag it pretty hard because I'm pretty frustrated with this whole situation in general. So I'm trying to get some control over this, and this kid that I grabbed is usually the nicest and most respectful. So when I grab his wrist, I think he's gonna snap out of it. He's gonna look at me, his eyes gonna hurt a little bit. He's gonna be like, okay, I'm sorry. But he's not like that at all. I pull him towards me and I'm like, what are you doing? And this kid slaps me in the middle of my face. And scratches my face a little bit to get away from me. And I'm taken so off guard by it. I grab his face so he can't hit me anymore. And he seems so angry. And at the same time, in the corner of my eye, I see Danny grab another kid. He has double wrist control, and his kid is sending kicks into his shin, trying to fight Danny off to continue playing. These kids are completely maddened. A lovely little group of 120 kids who are acting out like we had never seen them. So we have two of these little goblins restrained, and the rest of them start slowing down and congregating in front of us. And we're basically holding these kids at this point because they're being horrible. And what they're doing is super dangerous. It's going to get them in trouble. It's probably going to get them sent home. And we're just trying to save their summer. And they all start to seem to be calming down, making a group right now. This is okay, they're finally listening. We still got that wide-eyed look on their face. They all seem to be little giggles here and there. They're all in on this serious subject. So we put the two kids that we have restrained into the group. And we start doing all the head counting. So we start freaking out. These kids, where did these other two go? Did they run deeper into the woods? We're trying to get answers from them. All of these kids are looking at us with the same hands. And all they want to do is step up. They walk directly up to Danny. And all they say is, you're it. Both give us a hard push. And they make us take one step back as they're kind of knocking the wind out of us, right? And as I'm trying to take a step back to regain my balance because of that push, my leg is set behind me. I know it. My feet are in the air. My back of my head are hitting the ground behind me. The wind's knocked out of me. I don't really realize what happened. I hit my head on the floor. I got like a flash of white. And as I started to regain, I see Danny and the kids realized what had happened. The two missing kids had snuck up behind us. It was a planned attack. They all started swarming and sprinting in circles as if me and Danny we were about to take our followed by a very familiar feeling. I heard what sounded like aggressive, heavy footsteps coming in my direction, followed by what felt like getting sprayed with BB gun pellets. On the back of my head, my back, my hamstrings, my calves, it felt like someone whipped a handful of pellets at me. I felt a stinging sensation everywhere, and then I saw a bunch of small rocks rolling on the ground in front of me as if they all had just landed as well. And then I heard this horrible, gruntish roar, which was followed by some type of whooping. And I couldn't tell what direction it was coming from initially, but then it clicked in my head. It's probably coming from the same direction that I just got hit by these rocks. So I turn all the way around, and I'm looking through these dark trees, and in the distance, I see some of these tree trunks kind of getting rattled, as if something was running through them and ramming into them as if it's moving towards us. The only positive thing about this situation is that it got the kids' attention, and they all stopped running, and they were looking in the same direction. Finally, as it gets close enough, it lets out another gruntish roar, and all of these kids start panicking, freaking out, and they start screaming back towards the cabin. And Danny and I stood our ground, kept beat in between the kids, and we both pulled out our bear spray that we always have on hand, and we're waiting for a bear to emerge and start charging us. Entered our line of sight in this small, illuminated area of the woods was that same figure, that large, masked figure, standing on 2 feet. I couldn't see much of it, but I could definitely see more of it than I saw last time 9 years ago. And I could see it breathing heavily from its chest and its abdominal area. And I could see it was holding its arms out wide with its legs kind of wide, trying to make itself larger to intimidate us. And I could clearly see that it had this brown hue to it, but it wasn't what I thought it was. I was expecting some ape-like creature like Danny's second run-in with Bigfoot. This interdimensional Bigfoot is going to be standing here again, but this was a massive, covered head to toe with brown leather. It looked like homemade leather shoes, pants, long sleeve shirt, gloves, mask, covers his neck and hair. He was covered head to toe with leather. That was so much worse than a Bigfoot, and now I was as scared as the kids. Danny didn't hesitate. We were basically racing back to the cabin. I'm thinking about maybe keeping his foot out, just in case this guy's chasing us and I don't get caught. Didn't do it. We get back to the cabin. We all lock ourselves in with these kids, and we lock the door behind us. We open the shade so we could see out there, and we finally get to count the heads. All the kids are in here. They're all crying hysterically. They're hiding under the covers. They're apologizing to us. We think our kids now. Those kind-hearted kids are here with us again. But it was clear to me in that moment that they weren't really aware of what they were doing, because they were talking to us like their regular selves, as if they weren't just acting out horribly in the woods, and they're crying and confessing to us they saw a Bigfoot in the woods and they were so scared. It was a completely different dynamic than we just experienced in the desert. But once I knew that everybody else was in the cabin safe, I looked at Danny and I could see on his face he wasn't as worried as everybody else, because what I saw freaked me out. So I pulled him off to the side and I was like, what was that up there? Because you're not acting scared enough. And he looked at me dead serious and he said, let the kids be scared of him. He's the only one that can snap them out of it. We call him Mr. Leather. He's kind of the protector around here. We're actually really lucky that it was him and not the buck. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. I hope you guys have been enjoying the weekly upload schedule. We're trying our absolute best to get you guys a video every week, and we deeply appreciate all of your support.